Part 17. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 161. Having said this, Yilin squatted down calmly. Zhang Huishun shook his head expressionlessly. Don't panic, I'll tie my shoelaces. You and I are getting ready anyway, so you don't mind, right? Haha. Yilin quickly finished her work and stood up again. He continued, of course, don't rush to refute it yet. I also know that this flaw is very far-fetched. If you insist on saying it, it can only be regarded as a doubtful point, not your flaw. Zhang Huishun lit a cigarette, smoking silently. Then he smiled and said, well, you continue. The atmosphere suddenly became a little weird. In this deserted world, a man and a woman alone, a space where only one person could escape alive, turned out to be chatting as if they were commonplace. You and I started talking word by word. Yilin continued, this mission gave me a very weird feeling at the beginning. I've been wondering what is the reason for issuing such a weird real-life mission for a group of apostles to surround and kill another apostle. But in fact, if you change this proposition slightly, it will become, yes what, standing on the opposite of all the apostles. So I thought about it. Yilin raised her head and slowly said two words, undead. Zhang Huishun puffed out smoke rings calmly this time, since there was no one else here anyway. Even if Yilin knows, as long as he dies here, it will become a secret that no one knows. She used the copy card to copy 80% of Mo Ren's attribute values, and Zhang Huishun was confident that she could kill Yilin. The duration of the copy card is enough for her to kill Yilin hundreds of times. Furthermore, she also saw that Yilin was recovering her spiritual energy, so what? She had roughly guessed the skills that Yilin possessed currently, and even the type of props that were padded on the body at that time, if nothing unexpected happened, were probably some kind of life-saving props, so Zhang Huishun was not panicked at all. On the contrary, she was curious about where this guy saw the flaw this time. Yilin lowered his head and said, in the other world, only the undead stand completely opposite to all the apostles. It's just that at that time, I put this possibility at the end, because generally speaking, it is impossible for the undead to appear in the real world. This kind of thing, whether it is in the past or, now, has never had any precedent. At least, I don't know precedent. But then I thought about it carefully and realized that it had never appeared before, so I kept an extra precaution. Later, Lao Zhao sent me the video of you killing the security guard for the first time in the hospital. I was like, I think your walking posture in the video is very weird. If it was just stiffness in your movements, that would make sense. After all, you are no longer warm after being dead for so long, and it is normal for your joints to be stiff. But then the action you took to kill the security guard in the video was very crisp and neat, and there was no sign of stiffness at all. Looks like. I watched the video carefully several times and found that the weird thing was actually, the steps. It was like a woman who was not used to wearing high heels and was walking in high heels forcibly. Later, I specifically checked the photos of Zhang Huishun that I had not yet deleted on the internet. Zhang Huishun is not married yet. Haha, she is quite fond of beauty. After work, she likes to dress up and wear high heels. That is to say, the action of not used to wearing high heels is completely inconsistent with Zhang Huishun's character. Then the question is this Zhang Huishun the real Zhang Huishun? If it's not Zhang Huishun, then who is it? There is no such thing as a ghost in the world. If there are abnormalities, most of them are related to the tower. So, I was 60% sure at that time that you were not Zhang Huishun, but the undead soul that was accidentally smuggled out from that place in some way through Zhang Huishun's body. Until your reaction just now, finally let me confirm 100%. Zhang Huishun's face suddenly darkened. Unexpectedly, what this little bastard said so confidently just now was actually a lie to him. But that's not important. He was going to die anyway. Hey, hey, you haven't told me where I showed my flaws. Don't worry, Yilin quietly took a look at the recovery level of the spiritual energy value and said with a smile, let's talk about the second doubt first. In this real-world mission, why are only second-level people allowed to take on the mission? If we have to kill an undead that has been smuggled out, we can obviously mobilize a higher-level apostle like Zhao Yulong. Perhaps it's because of some rules? Or maybe, Zhang Huishun's account itself is only at the second level. Perhaps because of this, that will cannot violate the rules and mobilize higher-level apostles to deal with you. When Zhang Huishun heard this, his expression changed slightly. Meaning is. Yilin guessed correctly. Yilin continued, then the question comes. Zhang Huishun. If Zhang Huishun Benshun is only at the second level, how did he kill the fat classmate who could chase him for several streets at the same time without using special props? What are they? Kizaru and Black Tiger. In addition, there are a lot of doubts about Angela's ability to survive the explosion. So I guess you are likely to have some kind of skill that can directly transform into the appearance of a certain unit after killing it. Appear in front of others. This skill of yours may not even be an immediate use type, but a storage type. For example, when you kill a unit, you can generate a kind of mimicry, which is ready for use at any time. Once consumed, you cannot become that person again. I guess it's probably this type of skill. Well, by the way, your other skill is probably related to explosions. The explosion in the photography city was probably your fault. You originally wanted to kill Li Chang'e, who was obviously the weakest, to save a few heads, but you didn't expect to be killed by Lao Pan. Ruined your operation. Zhang Huishun did not deny everything Yilin said. Didn't you say that you most want to know where you showed your flaws? Yilin chuckled. Everything I just said can only make me doubt you, but it cannot be the key to confirm that you have a problem. Evidence. And what makes me sure you have a problem is, the mission time limit. Do you remember that old Zhao once asked you how many hours are left before the mission limit time? Perhaps you don't know that this real-life mission was triggered after I saw a corpse that died in your hands. The time was around 2100 hours. Let me put it this way, do you understand? Hear the words. Zhang Huishun suddenly realized. It turns out that this is the flaw. He had been on guard against Yilin, because Zhao Yulong behaved too obscenely throughout the whole process, and was so natural that Zhang Huishun relaxed his vigilance towards Zhao Yulong, and did not react for a while, and then revealed his biggest failure. The first time he crawled out of the morgue, was in the early morning. In short, he did not expect that the task time limit given by the tower to both parties was actually several hours apart. In other words, through this detail, Yilin realized that Angela, that is, Zhang Huishun, had a completely different mission from others. Yilin smiled and added, actually, I feel that this may be a deliberate reminder given by the tower's will, but it cannot express it clearly, so it can only use this roundabout way. Haha. Zhang Huishun. Yilin thought for a moment, actually, there is one thing I don't quite understand about the whole thing. Why do you have to approach Zhao Yulong as Angela? If it weren't for this unnatural action, maybe it may not be so completely exposed. Zhang Huishun suddenly shook his head, you don't understand. Yilin. In other words, the reason why you let them have been making trouble in Hating City for so long, and even ordinary people's forums were uproar, was just for the last step. Zhang Huishun smiled sinisterly and did not continue to let Yilin answer. Instead, he thought everything through. I thought at first that you deliberately did this kind of thing on the forum just to cover up the chaos caused by all the apostles in the real world. That's all. I really didn't expect that at the last moment, you would borrow Oral's ability to directly hack the forum and post a series of false posts, whether it was Otami's injury or everyone else's movements. Really false, true, I didn't expect that I would let you lie to me in the end. All this is just to make me sure of three things. First, to make me mistakenly believe that you have not seen through my identity. Secondly, to make me mistakenly think that a human head that is easy to harvest is lying at the place you have arranged in advance. Third, it made me mistakenly believe that all the apostles were led away and far away from the Zongja district, leaving me out of reach in the final time limit. I really am yours, as expected of you. Zhang Huishun suddenly laughed. You are still an old sow wearing bras, one after another. Yilin's pupils narrowed. This sudden remark seemed to explode in Yilin's mind, making Yilin stunned for a moment. But almost at the same time that Zhang Huishun finished saying one set of tricks, he took advantage of Yilin's unpreparedness and moved towards Yilin without warning, as if teleporting. Although the two seemed to have been chatting for a long time, in fact, Yilin's dynamic vision up buff state had not faded yet. In other words, it had only been less than 10 minutes. Now, Zhang Huishun used the copy card to directly copy 80% of Mo Rendi's attributes within a limited time, which is extremely terrifying. What's more, Zhang Huishun is also an apostle. At the very least, this body has the identity of an apostle. The moment Zhang Huishun took action, Yilin saw a series of trajectory prediction lines passing through his body. But being able to see and predict it was one thing. Whether the body could react to it was another. Something happened. Zhang Huishun had already planned it. Both Yilin and Zhang Huishun knew that this was not just a simple chat decryption. But in the end, who can take the upper hand and who can be more unprepared depends on who is more insidious. Yilin didn't even have time to raise her hand. He could only take 2 steps back. At this moment, he only took 2 steps back. 2 steps? Zhang Huishun smiled coldly, as if it was time to witness Yilin's death. 2 steps? I can't take more than 2 steps to urinate once I take a pee. Suddenly. Zhang Huishun suddenly discovered that at the position where Yilin was 2 steps ago, there seemed to be an unknown, shit yellow object from unknown time. Shit. The corners of Zhang Huishun's eyes twitched suddenly. Who the hell would carry around such a crazy prop? No way. In mid-air, Zhang Huishun's movements actually paused for a moment because he accidentally caught a glimpse of the yellow object. But with Zhang Huishun's current agility attribute, this extremely short pause is almost harmless. Even if he stops for a moment, Yilin may not be able to react. When the physical attributes are high, he is so willful, etc. With how sinister that kid was in his memory, he might actually be able to do something as unconscionable as carrying a piece of shit with him. Oops, that's not right. It turns out it's not shit. Zhang Huishun's body flew another distance in mid-air. At this time, Yilin had just had time to exit the 3rd step. Too slow. Zhang Huishun sneered. This is 80% of Mo Rendi's attributes, the man who has trained his body to almost reach the ultimate level of human beings just by exercising himself. Even if Mo Ren is 80% enemy, it is enough to crush the current Yilin. Banana peel. Zhang Huishun laughed dumbly. He had no idea that the unknown yellow object that made him pause twice in mid-air turned out to be just an ordinary banana peel. Do children fight? Did you think you were making a movie? The Return of the King? A piece of banana peel wants to turn the tide of the battle? What a joke. Ha ha ha. Who the hell knows how to step on it? So what if I step on it? Zhang Huishun has almost recovered. After all, this nail-expanding skill requires a steady stream of Chinook energy. Although Mo Rendi has extremely high strength and sensitivity attributes, his mental attributes are very hard to describe. The Chinook value is obvious. Not enough. That's why Zhang Huishun talked nonsense with Yilin for several minutes. Of course, there are also ideas to satisfy curiosity. I still overestimate you. Your attributes are enough to crush everything. Zhang Huishun laughed wildly, and in an instant, before Yilin had time to react, his 2 fingers, which had swelled by tens of centimeters and were able to penetrate everything, were already in front of Yilin. Aiming at the center of the eyebrow. A fatal blow. Yilin smiled slightly. At this moment, with the dynamic vision up buff, he was able to see most of Zhang Huishun's movements clearly, as well as being able to predict part of the attack trajectory. Those attack tracks all passed through his head. Zhang rejuvenated very quickly. It was so fast that it was comparable to when Mani in the ghostly mist mountain, whose ghostly aura pushed her agility to the limit of human beings. But Yilin made no other move. Let Zhang Huishun's fingers quickly reach towards his forehead. It's not me that's wrong, it's the world. Yilin suddenly said an incomprehensible line. At the very least, it is absolutely meaningless in this environment. Zhang Huishun quickly typed a question mark. But the action didn't stop. Suddenly. Do not know why. He clearly wanted to penetrate Yilin's head. Thoroughly pierce that damn smart damn head. The kind full of murderous intent. But for some reason, the closer he got to the banana slice, the more he couldn't help but care about it, and the more he cared about it, the more he couldn't help but look at it. Finally, by some strange mistake, Zhang Huishun's figure, which was like a stream of light, stopped in front of the banana peel. Then, couldn't help but, stepped on it. Eep. Boom. Pia. Zhang Huishun looked confused, he couldn't figure it out at all. Why am I so mean-spirited and can't help but step on that banana peel? But normally, with his current attributes, even if he really steps on a banana peel, his body coordination will still have enough time to adjust his movements in mid-air, so as not to fall into such a posture on all fours. Yilin shook her hands again. The moment he said those words, Yilin's health dropped by 50% in an instant. At the same time, snap, snap, snap. Yilin felt as if the blood in her body was boiling and being squeezed out of her body by some force. Every pore on the surface of the body spurted out a piece of light red blood mist in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the blood mist gathered around Yilin, entangled, and became thicker and thicker. The 5 bloody balls that had been sitting on Yilin's buff column for a long time suddenly turned into invisible power and merged into Yilin's body. 5 layers of bloody will. These are the 5 layers of blood that Yilin never had time to use from the time she killed Bai Jiao in No Man's Land until she exploded all over Gotham. The 5 layers of blood intent can be said to be carefully selected by Yilin. They are all absorbed from targets with higher attribute values according to visual inspection. A total of 11.2 free attribute points. Approximately equal to 1 Henry Zhang's power. What? In an instant, Zhang Huishun's face revealed 3 parts of surprise, 3 parts of fear, 3 parts of hatred, and the last part was deeply hidden in disbelief. How can it be? How could you be him? Impossible. This is impossible. This dash. No. Zhang Huishun suddenly shouted, and the moment he saw Yilin in this state, his voice became extremely shrill, like a ghost from hell. Yilin's face was expressionless. Quickly allocate the attribute value approximately equal to 1 Xiao Yang's power to the measurements of strength, agility, and spirit. This is Yilin's last trump card. It is also the most important trump card. None of them. Bloodthirsty disaster. This heaven-defying skill has never appeared in front of anyone. Because it has terrible side effects, Yilin will not use it until the last moment. Because once the bloodthirsty disaster is used, it means that Yilin is in an extremely dangerous situation and has reached a situation where he will not stop fighting until death. Yilin was not sure how many props Zhang Huishun still had and how many life-saving trump cards he had. Banana Peel Limited. Zhang Huishun even has some kind of prop on his body that can rebound directional negative skills. Under such circumstances, Yilin would never risk being disastered by throwing skills at Zhang Huishun. 210 seconds. This is the final time limit. Yilin burst out with the fastest hand speed ever. Add a bit. Snap, 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 snap. He pressed frantically on the apostle panel. Zhang Huishun had already stood up at this moment. His eyes were complicated, but soon they were replaced by another kind of madness. I want to kill. Ouch. Another tempting banana peel? The crazy look on Zhang Huishun's face suddenly faded, and he couldn't help but step on him again. Eep. Boom. Pia. The exact same plot, exactly the same posture, but it unfolded in a way that Zhang Huishun did not expect at all. After consuming 2 precious banana peels, Yilin had already added points. Among them, the measurement attributes are as follows. Psychic energy value 690, add 310. Strength 3.1, add 4.1. Agility 4.4, add 4.0. Spirit 6.9, add 3.1. In. Yilin directly piled up the mental attributes to 10 points. After breaking through the first level of mental lock, the remaining free attribute points were evenly distributed to strength and agility without thinking about it because of time constraints. In Zhang Huishun's eyes, Yilin was like a demon from hell at this moment. His whole body was wrapped in frighteningly rich blood energy, and his hair seemed to be alive, moving automatically without wind on the back of his head. Yilin didn't even notice that after using Bloodthirsty Disaster, his pupils also changed from black to red, faintly revealing a frightening red light. Snapped. In order to kill Zhang Huishun reliably, Yilin threw out another banana peel regardless of loss this time. You're right, the attributes are enough to crush everything. Yilin smiled. Smiled brightly, revealing a row of strong white teeth. Yilin was shrouded in blood, and the 2 rows of teeth exposed looked particularly scary. Zhang Huishun was on his back again. He suddenly understood. This, seemingly ordinary banana peel is actually a prop from the That One series. An ordinary series. He actually has this thing on him. Etc. At this time, he was only at the 2nd level. How could he learn the essence of the mundane prop series so quickly? Such skillful movements must be fake. Zhang Huishun's face was expressionless, with his feet in the air. Yilin slowly pulled out the blood-red knife. Just the size is a little wrong. Next, there is no suspense. 58 seconds later. Yilin killed Zhang Huishun twice. Unexpectedly, Zhang Huishun actually had 2 life-saving props on him. The background is simply terrible. It is conceivable that the number of apostles hunted by Zhang Huishun definitely far exceeded the number calculated by Zhao Yulong. Now, Yilin had already put away the knife. Zhang Huishun had obviously given up the struggle. The body below his chest, which had been forcibly cut off and separated into 2 parts, was gushing blood crazily. But this time, Zhang Huishun did not stand up again. He just stared at the pale sky of the dual space with a blank look. Around Zhang Huishun, there were countless bottomless ravines. The ground seemed to be split open and crisscrossed. Each ravine seemed like a giant carving a heavy stroke on the ground with a knife. He. Zhang Huishun looked at his health. Not much left. The most ironic thing is that he is now unable to rejuvenate. Yilin silently sat behind Zhang Huishun's head. In fact, he had been sitting there for a full 15 seconds. He was hesitating. Or rather thinking. Blood was dripping from the blood jasmine, lying steadily on Zhang Huishun's neck. Now he is still in the bonus state of bloodthirsty catastrophe, his agility attribute is almost the same as Zhang Huishun, and he is in the dynamic vision up buff state. Whether Zhang Huishun suddenly jumps up, or crushes the card, or even when he took out the card, he had enough time to react. You won't be able to live again now, will you? Bloodthirsty catastrophe. There are still more than 100 seconds, enough for Yilin to kill Zhang Huishun 8 times 10 times. but Yilin really didn't believe that Zhang Huishun could have so many life-saving tools on his body. According to speculation, having 3 pieces is already a very lucky situation. Moreover, judging from his reaction, it doesn't look like Yazihu has a backup plan. But to be on the safe side, Yilin asked one more question to observe Zhang Huishun's reaction. Zhang Huishun's eyes were blank, but he smiled, "No. What exactly is there?" When Zhang Huishun heard this, his eyes became more sarcastic and helpless. "You don't understand." Another 3 seconds passed. Yilin took a deep breath. "Zhao Yulong." Suddenly, the moment Yilin said this name to Zhang Huishun, the world changed color and became gloomy. With the 2 people at the center, countless hideous and terrifying cracks appeared out of thin air. This space that exists because of the duel is rapidly disintegrating. Warn. 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 The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. 10. 9. A scarlet countdown began to appear in front of Yilin's eyes. Zhang Huishun grinned. "Guess?" He. Click. With an expressionless face, Yilin swung the sword towards Zhang Huishun's neck and cut it off hard. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 162. Hating City. Under the goddess tower. Li Chang'e was in high spirits. Stand with your hands behind your back. As if he were invincible. Wearing a batsuit that looked like a turtle shell, those low-level apostles could hardly do anything to Li Chang'e. In addition, as a senior actor, Li Chang'e has some ancient martial arts skills. Although he is not strong, with the addition of epic equipment, Li Chang'e's attributes are slightly higher than those of other apostles. Coupled with the messy blinding special effects, it was able to withstand 1 or 2 waves of attacks from the apostles. Li Chang'e became more and more courageous as he fought. His face flushed, his legs were tightly closed, and when he punched out, it actually brought out a gorgeous special effect of stars, like the universe collapsing and destroying everything. The special effects were so realistic that even though the apostles knew they were fake, they couldn't help but be shaken by the extremely realistic special effects. The crazy special effects are not over yet, are they? Finally, someone is angry. Click. Suddenly. Just when Li Chang'e was preparing to brew a new wave of new special effects, he once again struck hard at the demons and monsters in front of him. Suddenly there was a crisp sound in his ears. It was like something, the sound effect of being stabbed quietly. Li Chang'e didn't care. The corner of his mouth quirked. No one noticed that under the bandage, he had an evil and arrogant smile. Call out. Special effects are everywhere. Peach blossoms are blooming. The stars are coming. I am Li Chang'e. I am the cool and handsome Li Chang'e, ha 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 ha. Click click click. Just when Li Chang'e's nose went up and his whole body was filled with a smell called dees, strange sounds of clicking came one after another in his ears. Suddenly, among the apostles who had been busy beating the turtle shell on Li Chang'e, someone suddenly had sharp eyes and couldn't help but say something. Huh? This piece of shitty equipment seems to be cracked. Cracked. Li Chang'e was slightly startled when he heard this. How dare you fool me? Do you really think I'm stupid? Can I believe it? Click, 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 click. This time, as he suffered more and more attacks, Li Chang'e discovered that the clicking sounds coming from his ears became clearer and clearer, and they were clearly not hallucinations. So Li Chang'e, with his head full of questions, punched and kicked the crowd, and then briefly checked the attributes of the epic equipment. There seems to be some changes in one of them. Durability 12/3000. Durability. Why does epic level equipment still have durability? How could there be such an unscientific setting? Don't you mean artifact? Don't you mean epic? In an instant, Li Chang'e looked down and found that the batsuit modification on his body was covered with fine cracks at some point, like fragile glass that would break if touched. Etc. Li Chang'e suddenly jumped out of the crowd, stretched out his palm, and shouted loudly. The group of low-level apostles were stunned by Li Chang'e's sudden loud voice and stood there for several seconds. The various attacks with sticks, clubs, and knives actually stopped for a while. Everyone unanimously raised a question mark slowly. Of course, they are not Li Chang'e. These question marks are all based on imagination without special effects. Li Chang'e smiled coldly. Very cold. Just like his mood at the moment. Emotions, emotions, acting skills, Li Chang'e, you are so generous, you are an actor. Li Chang'e was brewing emotions and gradually became full of emotions. Sudden. Someone broke the silence. A burst of sad and heroic music suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. They were immersed in the BGM, as if they were witnessing a martyr, risking his own life, resolutely stepped onto the battlefield, and then wrapped himself in a gorgeous shroud. Homecoming, ah, what a cool BGM. Did you hear that? So sad. Why do I feel like this music sounds like someone might be heroic? Li Chang'e suddenly raised his head, scanned the audience with cold eyes, and spoke slowly. Say it before you do it. You must, don't slap me in the face. Grass. When everyone heard this, they couldn't react. Li Chang'e's tortoise shell was on the verge of breaking, so they all jumped up one after another, attacking Li Chang'e with various weapons and fists. Crackling. Bang 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 bang. Snap, snap, snap. Puff 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 puff. Li Chang'e was instantly submerged in the angry crowd, unable to extricate himself. Oh shit. Didn't you agree not to slap me in the face? What a fool. Are you going to slap me in the face? Li Chang'e felt like crying, but just now, the batsuit modification on his body was completely shattered. It directly becomes an appearance equipment with no attributes. Everyone was deceived by Li Chang'e all night, and they were already filled with anger. They showed no mercy at all, and greeted wherever they felt comfortable. In the blink of an eye, there were countless footprints on Li Chang'e's body, especially on the left and right sides of his face. You two slapped each other in the face again. Li Chang'e was also angry. He watched as his health dropped crazily in just a few seconds. If this continued, he would most likely be beaten to death by this group of apostles who were madly seeking revenge. Etc. Li Chang'e suddenly remembered what else the fat man with narrow eyes had given Yilin before he left. Li Chang'e couldn't care about that much at the moment. After all, he had already used all his cards. He had blocked these apostles outside the goddess tower for so long, and he was almost at the end of his life. At this moment, even if Li Erpang gave him the stuff, even if his son is a piece of shit, Li Chang'e will not hesitate to throw him out as a life-saving straw. After all, he had no choice. Li Chang'e withstood various attacks, gritted his teeth and took out Li Erpang's card from the storage space. Then without even looking at it, he just crushed it. In an instant, the power of the card turned into 5 rays of light, condensing into 5 mysterious shapes above Li Chang'e's head, and slowly circling in some mysterious orbit. The moment those 5 mysterious props appeared above Li Chang'e's head. Among the 3 inner and outer circles, the apostle who was beating Li Chang'e in the innermost circle suddenly smelled an earth-shattering stench. This stench is appalling and absolutely insane. Which brother is farting? Please stand up and let us beat him to death. Who accidentally dropped shit on his pants? Among the apostles, because of the sudden stench, the formation that was originally neatly beating Li Chang'e quickly dispersed and fled from the center of the stench. Li Chang'e was suddenly, stunned. Etc. He was just thinking about it casually. He never thought that the last thing Li Erpang stuffed into his hand, Turned out to be shit. And there's more than one lump. So scary. No wonder that damn fat man had an expression of disgust on his face after stuffing him with the card. That's so. At the same time, Li Changa also smelled it. From above his forehead, there was a burst of, no, it was 5 bursts of stench. It's like the smell of the legendary stinky tofu that is put into socks that haven't been washed for several months and then stored for 10 years. The smell comes out after the jar is reopened. Simply, heartless. Tracking shit blocks. Grade rare. Effect click to view details. Instructions click to view details. Li Changa wanted to cry but had no tears. At this moment, he had the urge to beat the fat man with narrow eyes to death. Because of that stench, even he couldn't stand it, let alone anyone else. To be precise, no living thing with a normal sense of smell can stand the smell. Etc. Can't stand it? Li Changa was suddenly startled. He suddenly reacted. When Li Changa raised his head again, he smiled sinisterly again. Everyone else stared at the 5 mysterious objects on Li Changa's forehead in surprise. Suddenly, someone among them couldn't help shouting, "Wait! Don't forget! This is fake! Everything is fake!" Yes. That makes sense. Others echoed. This guy pretended to be cool all night, and was almost fooled again by his realistic special effects. So, after everyone was forced back by the stench, they prepared to attack again and beat Li Changa again. Li Changa smiled slightly. The clouds are calm and the wind is gentle. Of course, wrapped in gauze, no one could distinguish Li Changa's enigmatic smile. But that's not important. As long as Li Changa shows this kind of smile, it means that he has a sense of substitution, and having a sense of substitution means that his emotions are about to begin to surge. Shit. Quick. Li Changa's eyes shot out with 2 lightning-like rays of light, instantly pointing at the apostle who had shouted the loudest just now. Call out. In an instant, like lightning, the mysterious lump flew out of Li Changa's head and flew straight towards the target Li Changa had locked. Even if they knew it was a special effect, but seeing a disgusting thing flying straight towards their face, no matter who they were, they would be shocked. Even if they knew that it was most likely a special effect, no one would dare to bet such a huge amount of money. One of the possibilities. Perhaps, this kind of attack is more terrifying than any kind of weapon. Even if it doesn't kill people, it will kill people's hearts. Snapped. Suddenly. The poor guy just had time to take 2 steps, but Li Changa's attack was faster, and it hit the poor guy's face. The other apostles didn't care whether it was true or not. When they saw this scene, their stomachs turned upside down and they moved away from the unlucky apostle. The unfortunate guy was stunned. He suddenly cried out in despair, I was poisoned. My health is decreasing crazily. This is true, shit. As soon as these words came out, the whole world is shocked. So scary. Even if it means death, no one wants to have such a blow to their face. But Li Changa immediately turned red and felt a sense of revenge in his heart. After all, he only felt a burning pain on his face at this moment, and he didn't know whether he had been disfigured under the beating of those bastards. Li Changa roared crazily in his heart. Since you dare to slap me in the face, I, Li Changa, am destined to let you. Shit has no burial place. Li Changa didn't hesitate, and directly selected 4 more unlucky guys, and threw the pieces of shit that were spinning and jumping on their heads one after another. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo. At the same time, 4 more people were hit by something indescribable. Horrible. The shit on his head is gone. At this time, some of the more clever apostles, who had been hiding behind others and trying not to be seen by Li Changa, were overjoyed when they saw that the piece of shit on Li Changa's head had finally been delivered. They seemed to see the dawn of hope in their despair. But Li Changa smiled coldly. Close your eyes. The emotions have already been brewing to the extreme. The moment Li Chang'e opened his eyes again. Behind him, like a peacock spreading its tail, one after another indescribable things appeared out of thin air, spreading like locusts passing by. In an instant, everyone's expression suddenly changed. Looking pale. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 163. Just when shit was flying all over the sky under the Goddess Tower. The top of the Goddess Tower. Ornamental layer. There was dead silence. No one dares to be careless. No one dared to break the silence. It seemed that he was afraid that Zhang Huishun would suddenly appear and he would have no time to react or strike hard at Zhang Huishun. Mo Rendi and Mai Oda fully explain what it means to be a warrior. The two of them closed their eyes and meditated, completely undisturbed by the outside world, and their minds were as calm as water. Suddenly, Oda Mai lightly scratched her arm. Somewhat itchy. No one noticed this little move, so Oda Mai put her hand on the sword as if nothing had happened, as if she could draw the sword at any time. Li Erpang tried his best to open his eyes wide, trying to see more clearly. Afraid of missing something. After all, in the dark, his eyes received less light, so it was easy to miss certain figures. At this time, nothing to do. Li Erpang quietly looked towards Brother Su. I saw Brother Su's breathing calming down a lot, leaning against the pillar quietly, sitting motionless. A terrifying blood hole penetrated Suzayasu's chest directly from behind, and also pierced Suzayasu's lungs. Fortunately, the wound was on the right side. Otherwise, if it had injured the heart, even if Suzayasu had a strong defense and her muscles were as strong as steel, it would be difficult to reverse the outcome of death. Just when Li Erpang looked towards Suzayasu, Suzayasu didn't know if she sensed the concern hidden in the fat man's eyes. She subconsciously raised her head, looked at Li Erpang and smiled sweetly. Grass. Li Erpang was so frightened that he quickly turned his head. As if nothing happened. Impossible. The difference in genetic levels is too big. My Li family genes are all beautiful and beautiful, so it is impossible to accept Suzayasu. Li Erpang thought so in his heart. But suddenly, Li Erpang was startled suddenly, and subconsciously slapped himself hard in the face. Snapped. The slap was very heavy and loud, and the slap rippled through the viewing floor, making everyone unable to help but look at the culprit who broke the silence, Li Erpang. He, it's okay, don't be nervous, I'll kill a mosquito. This mosquito is so white, no, it's so big. Damn it. Isn't it stupid? This is not a question of whether parents can accept it, okay. It's just that my meager fat can't bear it at all. There is such a big difference in body shape. Where the hell did this crazy character come from? After the fat classmate slapped the photon on his face, he became more conscious and finally did not continue to think in the wrong direction. Anyway. After this incident, he and Brother Su went their separate ways and had nothing to do with each other from now on. Li Erpang secretly made up his mind. I see all living beings as grass and trees, but I see you as the great element. I'm sorry, Brother Su. Let's all be well for the rest of our lives. Goodbye, forever. Just when Li Erpang was thinking wildly. Suddenly, the expressions of Li Erpang, Oda Wu, and Suzayasu changed at the same time. A line of horrifying warnings suddenly flashed across the screen before their eyes. That's a warning from the tower. Warn. 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 The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. The time limit is forcibly revised to 10 seconds. Damn it! Even Oda Mai, Although she didn't say it out loud, the word hum suddenly appeared in her mind. How could it be so baffling? There is obviously still time. Why was the time limit of the real mission suddenly revised? 10 seconds. What happened after Yilin and Zhang Huishun disappeared? What unspeakable little story happened? The atmosphere on the viewing floor was extremely tense at this moment. Although Oda Mai and the three of them had already killed enough heads and collected enough death points, even if the mission failed, there would still be enough death points deducted to prevent them from falling into the tragic fate of being wiped out. But no matter what, this is already the wealth that has been kept tightly in the pocket. For the Apostle, it is currently the only currency. Because of this inexplicable change, the 10,000 death points were spit out again. No matter who you are, you will feel a little uncomfortable. Click. Accompanied by a clear clang. Oda Mai flicked her thumb, and the murderous intention in her body was released and closed, and the long knife was ejected by an inch. But Li Erpang also narrowed his eyes deeper, hiding all murderous intent. He looked around, as if Zhang Huishun would pop out from every corner. Suzayasu also stood up and silently clenched her fists. Although Zhao Yulong and Amo Rendi had nothing to do with the real mission, they felt the change in the momentum of the other three people in an instant and suddenly opened their eyes. Everything was silent. As if waiting for something. Who is it? Will it reappear? Is it Yilin? Or Zhang Huishun? If it was Yilin, everyone would be happy. Although Zhang Huishun would feel sorry for Yilin, no matter what, for every apostle, the most important thing is always his own life. None of them. 109. Tower has begun a ruthless countdown. Everyone is waiting for the next number. Although they know that once the number counts down to the end, it means that the mission has failed. But at this point, they had no other choice. After all, Zhang Huishun is not here. No one to kill. And suddenly, Li Erpang was stunned. Oda Mai silently pressed the sword back into the scabbard. Suzayasu sat down again. Zhao Yulong. Amo Rendi, haha. Zhang Huishun confirmed his death. Congratulations on completing the mandatory limited time mission, completely eliminate Zhang Huishun. Now, task rewards will be distributed based on task contribution. Acquire death points. They instantly relaxed. It was because when they counted down to 9 seconds, they were stillborn before they could appear at the 8th second. The second-level apostles located in the entire Hating City all received the reminder that the mission was completed at the same time. Whether they are looking for Zhang Huishun on the street, or they have earned enough death points and decided to lie down and wait silently, or they are mad and beating Li Chang'e, or they are panicking because they don't have enough death points to deduct. Anyhow, everyone. All the second-level apostles who received this compulsory reality mission and were innocently involved in this incident couldn't help but breathe a huge sigh of relief when the mission was completed. Finally. Finished. Now. The Apostle Forum was already in full swing. They are all posting frantically to complain about this dangerous and weird real-life mission from various perspectives. Someone noticed a strange post in the Apostle Forum. Frenzied. Someone actually has the ability to throw shit. Terrifying lethality. As soon as the skill comes out, the sky and the earth are desolate. The winner loses blood like crazy. Be careful everyone. Once encountered, they will be punished. The reply below is a series of question marks. Baffling. No picture, no truth. Who has the skill to throw shit? Is there anything wrong with it? Anyway. At the Apostle Forum, the actual mission incident in Hating City finally came to an end with the inexplicable murder of Zhang Huishun. Etc. Did you forget something? Under the Goddess Tower. Behind Li Chang'e. A large area of indescribable things, like 10,000 shit chow zone, vast and terrifying. Everyone was frightened by the scene and turned pale. There was a stench all around, and no one could tell whether the terrifying scene in front of them was a special effect or some kind of unscrupulous skill. After all, the 5 unlucky guys whose innocent faces were covered in blood were foaming at the mouth and lying on the ground after being poisoned. At the same time, his life was harvested by others and fell into a box. This is the world of the apostles. Cruel and ruthless. One second they might be fighting side by side, and the next second they become a surprise box that increases strength for others. Sudden. Right now. All the apostles who were subdued by Li Changa's special effects, including Li Changa, first received a series of warning messages. But no one had time to react, and when they looked confused, they completed the task inexplicably. The special effects behind Li Changa shook violently. Sizzling. Almost disappeared. If it weren't for Li Changa's rich acting experience and his ability to stabilize his emotions in a very short period of time, the special effects behind the scenes might have been exposed directly, and he would fall back into the miserable situation of being beaten by all kinds of people. He glanced at the pitiful health remaining. If he were to be beaten again, Li Changa wouldn't be able to resist for a few seconds. After all, the durability of the Batsuit modified, which Li Changa regarded as an artifact, had been exhausted, and it had become a piece of cosmetic equipment without attribute bonuses. Without the blessing of equipment attributes, Li Changa is just a warrior who can only play special effects. He is simply unable to withstand a large group of thugs with full hatred. Mission accomplished? Li Changa finally breathed a sigh of relief. Among Yi Lin's small team, it can be said that Li Changa is the most miserable. He was robbed by Lao Pan, a waste account along the way, and did not gain many points at all. He was reduced to the embarrassing situation of dying if he failed if he did not have enough points. Therefore, Li Changa is most worried about whether the actual task is completed or not. It can be said that his life is entirely in Yi Lin's hands. If Yi Lin fails to kill Zhang Huishun as planned, next year today will be the anniversary of Li Changa's death. Ah, I wonder if I can still see the gorgeous sea of chrysanthemums with my own eyes next September. Ahem. Li Changa coughed twice and his legs trembled slightly, but he still smiled very calmly. Dear friends, since the real task has been completed, why don't we turn our hostility into friendship? But the words are not finished yet. Suddenly. In the army of apostles, one of the second-level apostles, whose anger level had already exploded, finally couldn't help but explode completely and crushed a card from the storage space. When crushing the card, a certain apostle seemed to be bleeding from his heart. This is a one-time attack prop that he only obtained in the last trial in the other world after going through a lot of hardships and almost dying. In an instant, a huge fireball, as hot as the blazing sun, about 1 meter in diameter, emitting frightening temperature, rose silently from the place where the card was crushed. The moment the huge fireball appeared, it was like a small artificial sun appeared in this small world. Everyone around was forced back by a terrifying heat wave. In just a short moment, their skin was burned by the rolling heat wave, not even a drop of it. No sweat was shed. The sweat glands of the skin are burned out. A middle-aged man holds a fireball on his palm. Majestic. He looked tragic. He knew very well that if this unknown bandaged man with terrifying skills could not be completely annihilated here today, it would become everyone's nightmare in the future. We must not let this piece of shit leave Hating City alive. Mr. Chu, will definitely kill this guy, here today. The other side of the fireball. Li Changa looked confused. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 164. The fireball, which was about 1 meter in diameter, was actually held in the hand of a mere human. It was like magic in a novel. It was so powerful that all the surrounding apostles who were forced back by the heat wave widened their eyes. So scary. How could such a terrifying skill appear in the second level? Wrong. Some people suspect that this is not an ability that second-level apostles can master. More likely, it's some kind of disposable prop. Similar to the existence of magic scrolls in the game. Kill. Kill that scumbag who throws shit everywhere. If he doesn't die, our entire circle of apostles will have trouble sleeping and eating in this life. For all the apostles. Giving our hearts. I vow to completely kill the dung-throwing scumbag. Kill, kill, kill. All the apostles were very powerful. Along with that fireball, their hope seemed to be ignited. The scene of shit flying all over the sky was really shocking and terrifying. If it had been before Li Chang'e used tracking shit block, others might not have reacted like this. But the huge damage caused by tracking shit block, whether it is physical or mental, is real, and real damage. After the real injury, the mighty special effects behind Li Chang'e undoubtedly stepped on their stinking hearts dozens of times again, so these people had such an excited reaction. The fireball was like another scorching sun rising in the dark night. Extremely scary. Li Chang'e's expression was dull, and the special effects behind him disappeared. It was replaced by a large mass of grave mounds. He could no longer maintain that emotion at this moment, and now his mind was filled with only one dense word. Die. This word was overwhelming in his mind, turning into countless tombstones behind him with Tomb of Li Chang'e engraved on it. No matter how special the effects are, they are not real. He didn't have any strength to resist this huge fireball. Why don't you just play shit? Do you want to be so embarrassed? I can't afford to say it earlier. Just as Li Chang'e had time to break out into a cold sweat, he was instantly evaporated by the billowing heat wave. Die. Ha 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 ha. The apostle holding the fireball's smile gradually became abnormal. He seemed to have foreseen the scene in which the dung scum was instantly evaporated into a pile of blood. This way of death is very suitable for you, scumbag. Go, die, die, die. With endless curses and full of resentment. Fireball. Take action. The seemingly bulky fireball locked onto Li Chang'e's position instantly after being released. Wherever the fireball passed, it left a black scorch mark of blazing fire, and the air was filled with a pungent smell. Li Chang'e had given up resistance. He didn't expect that today next year would really be his death anniversary. Ah, I really want to see those cherry blossoms flying all over the sky dash. Li Chang'e's eyes were blurred, he raised his head and looked up at the endless night sky. The fireball is getting closer and closer, and it is inevitable to avoid it. In fact, Li Chang'e had given up resistance. After all, he had already begun to imagine what his funeral would be like. The eyes are getting hotter and hotter. His eyes were gradually blinded by the light of the flames. The bandage on Li Chang'e's face even smelled of burning under the influence of high temperature. Die, die, die. Except Li Chang'e. All the apostles stretched their necks subconsciously. Eyes widened. It seems that everyone wants to witness with their own eyes how this heartless scumbag will be burned to ashes by the super fireball. Suddenly. Right now. The fireball about 1 meter in diameter, the fireball flying towards Li Chang'e, the fireball that could burn Li Chang'e to ashes at any time, the fireball that carried the hopes of countless people, unexpectedly, suddenly slowed down. Quite suddenly. Slower and slower, slower and slower. Stuck. Error. Bug. At the moment when the fireball completely stopped a few meters away from Li Chang'e, countless question marks popped up in the minds of all the apostles who hoped that Li Chang'e would die soon. Li Chang'e's face was shocked. And right now, the fireball that was inexplicably stopped shrank rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, from 1 meter in diameter to half a meter in diameter. 30 centimeters. 20 centimeters. Finally, under the horrified eyes of everyone, the fireball was shrunk to about the size of a fist. At the moment when the fireball shrunk, The overwhelming heat wave seemed to be isolated by some invisible force, and no heat was dissipated at all. In front of Li Chang'e, there was only a red and white fireball the size of a fist, spinning slowly. What the hell? Li Chang'e's eyes widened. He was also puzzled by this scene. But soon, a possibility suddenly occurred to him. Could it be that at the critical moment, under the spotlight of everyone, Li Chang'e, suddenly awakened to some magical power? Am I destined to be the protagonist of this world? Sure enough, it was because God did not give birth to me, Li Chang'e, that the eternity is like a long night. A beam of light fell from the sky. Like a spotlight, Li Chang'e was enveloped. Familiar special effects, familiar BGM. After figuring everything out, Li Chang'e regained his confidence. It turns out, I'm really invincible. Overwhelm all enemies. Li Chang'e sneered and suddenly raised his hand, his palm facing the concentrated fireball. Do you really think this technique will be useful to me? Let's go back. Li Chang'e smiled. Everyone was shocked. They were all deeply shocked by Li Chang'e's strong character at this moment. Whether it was the suit that was as durable as a tortoise shell, or the scene of flying shit in the sky, or the uncanny ability of Li Chang'e to condense the fireball with every movement of his hands, these apostles had a huge psychological impact. Shocking. How could there be such a terrible person? Fireball. Li Chang'e. Go. 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 When Li Chang'e saw the fireball floating in front of him without moving, Li Chang'e muttered in his heart and couldn't help but wave his hand towards the small fireball, feeling a little impatient. Fireball. At this time, above everyone's heads, that is, in the sky, a somewhat puzzled voice suddenly came, "What are you thinking about?" Following the sound, everyone looked towards the sky in unison. It didn't matter if he didn't look at it. This look immediately frightened everyone and turned pale. I saw a mysterious man wearing a black tuxedo and a gentleman's hat, stepping on the void, and appeared in the sky at an unknown moment, wearing a smiley face mask on his face. This is nothing. The most shocking thing is that the mysterious man's body is actually wrapped with thick blood. The faint blood adds countless mysterious brilliance to the mysterious man. Even the smiling face mask that can be seen everywhere in street shops, under the light of blood, against the background, it also looks a bit more evil and weird. Li Chang'e was the first to react. This voice, this voice, this voice. He's a boss. Li Chang'e had the urge to burst into tears at that moment. I really haven't given up. The boss is indeed a boss. Sure enough, he predicts things like a god. In fact, Yilin did not expect that he would appear here after coming out of the dual space. Although he has experienced it personally, he also knows that the space rules of the dual space and the speed of time are different from reality. After coming out of dual space, there will be a certain deviation from the position when you first entered dual space. He didn't expect that he would appear in mid-air outside the goddess tower. What a trap! If it weren't for the effect of his bloodthirsty disaster, which was teleported into the mid-air by the cheating dual space for tens of seconds, if it had been anyone else, he would have fallen to the ground directly, creating another epic scene. Tragedy comes. But it was just a coincidence. I wonder if Li Chang'e was lucky. After Yilin returned to the real world, it happened to be when Li Chang'e was about to die. Ah no, at this time, to be precise, it should be when the ironing is about to begin. Yilin conveniently rescued Li Chang'e. After all, Li Chang'e was completely kept in the dark about the second phase of the decoy plan Ultimate Edition. Thinking about it now, Yilin felt a little guilty. In his speculation, although Li Chang'e had the batsuit change for self-defense, the probability of surviving was only about 60%. Quite high. Yilin fell from the sky. After he used complete telekinesis to compress the fireball, his spiritual energy was consumed crazily. Not much left. Fortunately, this fireball looked powerful, but in fact it was not of high quality, otherwise Yulin might not be able to handle it in this way. Yulin took a deep breath and stopped talking. She moved in a way that made everyone unable to react. In a blink of an eye, she came to the Chu, who was stunned after releasing a small fireball. Back to you. Yulin spoke calmly and directly stuffed the fireball condensed into the size of a fist into the apostle's mouth. At this moment, Yulin's strength, agility, and mental attributes far exceeded everyone here. If he wanted to, he could even quickly harvest everyone's lives within a few dozen seconds before the effect of the skill ended. After all, if he only talks about attributes and not strength, even if he is not as good as Mo Rendi, he is not far behind. Enough to crush everyone here. As Zhang Huishan said, tyrannical attribute values are enough to crush everything. The Chu who released the fireball may have never thought that his mouth could be opened so wide, so exaggeratedly that he could stuff a fireball the size of a fist. Yulin took a quick look at the remaining time of the buff. Then he used the fastest speed to kick the frightened apostle into the sky. Boom! In a blink of an eye, the fireball exploded completely. It turned into the most dazzling fireworks in Hating City. Hiss! Everyone who witnessed the scene with their own eyes felt their scalps numb and were so frightened that they were speechless. Yulin came up behind Li Chang'e again, so fast that no one could see Yulin's movements clearly. Call out! Yulin flashed a red light in her hand and cut off the box from Li Chang'e's back. Before taking action, Yulin frowned. Who the hell tied Li Chang'e into such a shameful turtle shape? It seems that this step was not included in the original plan. Yulin speculated that Peng's classmate probably acted on the spot. The taste is really unique. But time was running out, so Yulin didn't waste any time. He opened the box and threw it in front of everyone. The box was empty. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 165. In the air. The apostle who blossomed into fireworks all over the sky has already been blown to pieces. Ta 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 ta. From time to time, blackened bones fall from the sky. Snapped. Finally, a dark skull just landed not far from Yulin. The dark eyes seemed to be silently crying out the helplessness and aggrievedness of his life. Everyone saw such a horrifying scene, and the heat wave radiating in the sky had not yet faded away. After witnessing this terrible way of death, they still couldn't help but feel chills running down their spines, as if they had been stuffed inside a big lump of ice. A box that only Yurin can see. Falling from the sky. The body is gone, but the box is still there. It doesn't matter. Yulin fished into the void with bare hands. Licking the bag as fast as possible. Ah no, open the box. Yulin ignored the reminder to obtain a certain number of death points and chaos points. After all, he was already numb. For the huge chaos value required for subsequent editing of the module, a mere second-level apostle was nothing more than a drizzle. The relics of the apostle, Chu Jingtian, are now randomly selected. Yo! This name is extremely domineering. Maybe on other occasions, you can have luck similar to the protagonist's aura. It's a pity that I met Yulin. Get magic water *3. Props. When Yulin looked at the triple happiness behind it, she understood the type of the relic, and there was no surprise at all. However, time was running out, and Yulin had no time to check the properties of magic water at the moment. He looked up. He scanned every unfamiliar and weird mask, and then said concisely, there was no ownerless spirit-possessed weapon from the beginning. This was all Zhang Huishan's conspiracy. Now Zhang Huishan is dead, our special team will take over the rest. Now. Yulin chuckled, I'll give you the last 10 seconds to stay out of my sight, otherwise, you'll die. 10. Yulin closed her eyes and started counting down. 9. Everyone fell into awkward silence. The fireball released by that apostle through some kind of prop or card, if there is no special prop or ability, is enough to incinerate anyone present. The pitch-black skull in front of him, which had not had time to burn to ashes, is the best proof. But the man in front of him, who was wearing an elegant black tuxedo, a smiling face mask, and a gentleman's hat, with a terrifying personality, could actually compress the fireball to the extreme with just a few movements of his hands, and stuff the small fireball back from the original owner's mouth. Kick directly into the sky and turn into fireworks. With this method, it is obvious that the level of this mysterious person who calls himself the special group is far beyond their imagination. True veteran. The special group is so terrifying. No wonder it can become a special organization that maintains peace in the Yang Dragon Kingdom. Horrible, so terrible. After Yi Lin took action brazenly and showed a terrifying ability that no one could defeat, no matter who it was, it would be difficult for anyone to have the idea of becoming an enemy. In addition, there is nothing in the box. Anyone who is not stupid can vaguely guess what happened in the past 3 days. Most of them have been fooled by all kinds of nonsense information. Round and round. Whether it is the Apostles' Forum or Hating City BBS, all sources of public opinion intelligence seem to have a behind-the-scenes hand manipulating everything. Everyone was deceived. Gentlemen. Suddenly, someone looked at Yi Lin and asked in a low voice. Yi Lin didn't answer. Just keep counting down. 8. 7. Walk. Some people were lucky, some were secretly grateful, and some held grudges. Everyone had various complicated emotions and left here one after another as quickly as possible. As the gentleman said, get out of his sight. Yi Lin has used his tyrannical strength to leave the idea that gentlemen are invincible in their minds. Under the influence of this idea, it is impossible for anyone to take the initiative to take up the banner and take action against gentlemen. Or declare war on the special group. No benefit. No benefit. No reason. No one would be that stupid. If there is, then this person will definitely not survive the next second. Everyone is so sure. So, retreating became the only option. 3, 2, 1. Yi Lin raised her head and smiled slightly. 0. Before his eyes, the people had long since disappeared, leaving only a black burn mark. Ah, this. Li Chang'e had already been shocked speechless by Yi Lin's scene, which was like a god coming down from heaven. What is awesome? What does it mean to make a move that is earth-shattering? This is called forceful style. Even I, Li Chang'e, can't perform it. Li Chang'e hugged Yi Lin's thigh in an instant. Li Chang'e, who survived the disaster, couldn't help hugging his thigh and crying bitterly, "Big brother! Big brother! Woohoo! I, Li Chang'e, am willing to stay with you forever. I will accompany you in life and death." Yi Lin lowered the brim of her hat with one hand. Wearing the mask, Li Chang'e imagined that under the mask, Yi Lin was showing 3 parts arrogance, 3 parts ridicule, 3 parts evil charm, and 1 part inscrutable that no one could understand. Stand up. Only then did Li Chang'e realize that his nose and tears were all stuck on the bandage, which was extremely uncomfortable. But when he heard Yi Lin say this, he stood up obediently, waiting eagerly for Yi Lin's next instructions. Hold me. Stop talking and hold on to me. In an instant, the terrifying blood energy wrapped around Yi Lin's body disappeared without a trace. As the skills were eliminated, a terrible feeling of fatigue and powerlessness swept through Yi Lin's limbs and body like a tide. Weak. After the bloodthirsty disaster, the accompanying horrific sequelae. The aftereffects can last up to 48 hours. At this moment, Yi Lin's mind felt like an iron hammer was hammering into the deep part of her brain. Thump, thump, thump. She had a splitting headache and couldn't think of anything at all. This feeling is like eating anti-046, extremely sour and refreshing. It is estimated that if Yilin is asked to calculate a simple question such as 1 add 1 equals, she may not be able to respond immediately. 1 add 1 equals? What is this? A biology question. If Yilin had time to open the apostle panel at this moment, he would find that his attributes had been directly reduced to a level that could be called the floor. Strength 1.0, weak. Agility 1.0, weak. Spirit 1.0, weak. Will 1.0, weak. Let alone an apostle, even if an ordinary person comes now, he might be able to kill Yilin easily. Is it done? After locking the door of the goddess tower to death, Lao Pan, who had been silently watching Li Chang'e being beaten on the first floor of the goddess tower, finally started to bubble again. Yilin slightly raised his heavy eyelids. Lao Pan? That stick looks familiar? What do you say that is? What's so great about Harley Quinn? Ah no, what kind of friend is here? After a while. Only then did Yilin gradually adapt to this sudden intelligence state. As long as you don't want to do anything too complicated, 1.0 mental power is barely enough. Once it involves simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, you probably have to calculate slowly with your fingers, otherwise your head will hurt. It is finally over. Yilin breathed a deep sigh of relief. Suddenly. Right now. Boom. Boom boom boom. A terrible vibration and explosion came from above the head without warning. Li Chang'e, who was following Yilin's instructions and supporting Yilin, was also startled by the sudden explosion. Li Chang'e raised his head. His whole body was shaken. A gorgeous and endless sea of chrysanthemums appeared behind him. Yilin reacted a whole beat slower than Li Chang'e. But when he raised his head expressionlessly, he suddenly seemed to understand the origin of the sea of chrysanthemums' special effect. I saw that all the pillars below the viewing floor of the goddess tower exploded one after another, and the flames of the explosions engulfed the small waist of the goddess tower in the blink of an eye. A minute ago. The top of the goddess tower. When Zhao Yulong learned from Fatty that the mission had been completed, he couldn't help showing a confused expression. His face was full of question marks. What? Is that all? Why haven't I taken action yet? Who I am? Where am I? What am I doing? Didn't he just prepare to kill everyone? Why did Zhang Huishun die in the blink of an eye? There is no precaution at all, and it will be difficult for people to accept it for a while. 3 seconds later. Zhao Yulong happily accepted this perfect ending. Well, actually, it's pretty good that you don't have to do it yourself. Where are the Yilin people? After Zhao Yulong quickly accepted this perfect happy ending, he finally remembered that something seemed to be missing. Yilin, who disappeared on the viewing floor with Zhang Huishun, did not appear until Zhang Huishun died, which was a bit strange. Li Erpang seems to be looking for Yilin too. He looked very nervous. Certainly. The little fat man was nervous, not because he was worried about classmate Yilin's safety. It's because, there's something wrong with Brother Su's eyes. Li Erpang felt that he didn't have anything to do. Staying in the same place with Brother Su made him feel very uncomfortable. Li Erpang was very nervous and even walked around the entire viewing floor with small steps, extremely flexible. What about that kid? Did he die together with Zhang Huishun? Zhao Yulong nodded with a heavy expression. Yes, it's very possible. Oh, what a pity, that guy's brain is very easy to use, and he's easy to control. When Zhao Yulong was trying hard to brew up his emotions and see if he could squeeze out a few tears at the critical moment and say a few eulogies on the spot with emotion, Deathmark shook slightly. It turned out to be Yilin. Oh, it's okay. That guy is downstairs and asked me to go down quickly to help support the scene, haha. Zhao Yulong also breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks to that kid Yilin, he didn't die. He didn't have to worry about who to turn to for any work in the future. In order to avoid Suzaya's scorching gaze, classmate Li Erpang was still pretending to be circling around. When he heard this, he was stunned. Really or not? That kid actually killed Zhang Huishun in a single fight? So embarrassing. Zhang Huishun was a terrifying being who managed to survive the beatings of several people. It's okay, it's okay. It's time to disperse. Everyone is ready to go home and wash up and sleep. Everyone is happy. Zhao Yulong laughed loudly, and the sadness in his heart that had not had time to surface naturally dissipated instantly. Suddenly. Boom boom boom. Everyone's feet. There was a violent shaking. The glass plate under their feet was transparent. Everyone looked down subconsciously and saw that most of the pillars supporting the goddess tower were broken in the violent explosion. After a few seconds, the entire viewing layer suddenly tilted steeply in one direction. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 166. This is, quite sudden. The viewing floor was now tilted at a 45-degree angle, and the roots of the load-bearing columns below were broken. It seemed that it was only a matter of time before the viewing floor finally crashed to the ground and became a gorgeous coffin for everyone. What the hell? Why did it explode again? For some reason, the little fat boy was particularly sensitive to these two words after returning from a trip to Gotham City. When he came into contact with them, his hair would instantly explode and his whole body would tremble like crazy. Explode. Brother Sue. The little fat man couldn't care less about Brother Sue's meaningful look at this moment. I saw him hugging the pillar with both hands, trying hard to prevent himself from sliding down. Snapped. Suzayasu walked over silently and actually hugged the same pillar as the little fat man. It's quite a bit like living and dying together. The little fat man didn't know if it was because of convulsions. Seeing Suzayasu's vivid body language, a feeling called touching secretly brewed in his heart. Snapped. The little fat man suddenly felt that something was wrong with him, and slapped himself hard on the face again. I am so moved. Li Erpang was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat and spent his whole life to nip this dangerous idea out of its spores. Zhao Yulong's expression suddenly turned cold, and he adjusted his direction slightly. As the glass floor tilted, Zhao Yulong's feet were firmly stuck to the glass plate, and his body was also strangely tilted at 45 degrees. Although Oda Mai had no expression on her face and didn't say a word, she just pressed her unsheathed sword against the pillar and tried her best to prevent herself from sliding down. Amorendi smiled slightly. This sudden change did not even make old Mo's hair messy at all. He just lifted the steel rope with one hand and said with a smile, "Xiao Zhao, please take these young people down." After that, without waiting for Zhao Yulong to agree or disagree, he lightly kicked the glass, jumped down, and disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. Zhao Yulong suddenly jumped in the direction where there was still an invincible enemy not long ago. His unpredictable expression instantly turned into tears. "Boss, team leader. I'm obviously overloaded here. Li Erpang. Suzayasu." Zhao Yulong suddenly turned around and looked at Suzayasu and Li Erpang not far away, hugging the same pillar and inseparable from each other for life and death. They were silent for a few seconds. The crow's feet at the corners of their eyes were wrinkled deeper, like two bright chrysanthemums beside their eyes. Damn it, not only is it overloaded, it's also overweight. Li Erpang was not happy when he heard this. He hugged the pillar tightly and retorted loudly, "I'm so slim. Fatty, I only weigh more than 200 kilograms. Oh no, I have lost weight now. Fatty is so skinny now. Is there a flash of lightning? Woo." As the little fat man talked, he thought of the lost fat man and couldn't help sobbing. Suzayasu. Boom. There was another explosion underneath me. The viewing layer is about to collapse. The viewing layer was shocked again from an angle of 45 degrees, and suddenly turned to 60 degrees. Almost half of Li Erpang's body was hanging in the air. If he and Suzayasu were not both strength apostles, they might not be able to secure themselves to the pillar with just their arm strength. But obviously, continuing like this is not the answer. He had already cast burn, fat. There is no extra fat on the body to provide defense. If it falls from a height of hundreds of meters with the collapse of the viewing layer. Li Erpang briefly imagined the scene after free fall. Holy shit. Yulin, please return that thing to me quickly. Suzayasu smiled slightly. It seems to be saying, live and die together, no regrets. Suddenly, Zhao Yulong gritted his teeth and couldn't care less. Now with a little thought, Zhao Yulong could guess that this sudden change must be the last backup plan left by Zhang Huishun to arrange all this in advance. It's okay to say that he can float down alone. If he brings so many people with him, he can only hope that these guys are thick-skinned and thick-toned. Get in my car quickly. Zhao Yulong suddenly walked towards several people, leaning his body, as if everything happening around him had no impact on him at all. Oda Mai. Suzayasu. Li Erpang. Automobile. Where is the car? Li Erpang looked confused. Only then did Zhao Yulong realize his slip of the tongue and said quickly, hurry up and hold my hand, and I will take you down. Except for Yilin and Mo Rendi, others did not understand Zhao Yulong's ability at all. But Zhao Yulong was one of the pillars of the special group. When the others heard this, they immediately reacted. Even if there were countless question marks in their minds, they did not dare to talk nonsense at this time. That is simply the same as seeking death. Time is running out. Suzayasu and Li Erpang hugged the same pillar tightly, so it was easier to handle. Zhao Yulong took the two of them directly into his special car. The moment Li Erpang and Suzayasu came into contact with Zhao Yulong, they immediately felt that their bodies had become countless times lighter, as if the existence of gravity had been easily erased by Zhao Yulong. Both of them had expressions of surprise on their faces. None of them noticed that the moment Zhao Yulong held the two weight-bearers, dense sweat broke out on his forehead again. An Oda dance beauty. Li Erpang had sharp eyes and was afraid that Zhao Yulong would forget the beauty, so he reminded her. Suzayasu glanced at the little fat man silently, but didn't say much. Zhao Yulong walked with light steps, seemingly unaffected by this topsy-turvy space, and walked directly in front of Oda Mai. Oda Wu did not hesitate and silently took Suzayasu's hand. Hiss. Zhao Yulong's face turned pale. Jump. Zhao Yulong felt that his body was being hollowed out crazily and his spiritual energy was flowing out crazily. He did not dare to delay any longer, so he directly pulled a few people and jumped down from the side where Mo Rendi had crushed him. Ah 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 ah. In the sky. Li Erpang's panicked screams echoed. Downstairs. Precisely. It's under the goddess tower. Yulin and Li Chang'e raised their heads one after another. It was discovered that the load-bearing column below the viewing floor on the top of the goddess tower was inexplicably blown up. Li Chang'e had never experienced that night in Gotham, and had no conditioned fear of various explosions. He just subconsciously made a confused expression. As for Yilin, in a weak state at the moment. All attributes have been weakened to a terrifying level. When Yilin saw this scene, she felt like her head was pounding, and then nothing happened. It is impossible to think carefully about the next step. Correct. Ah. Etc. My brain seems to be a little normal again. Yilin patted her face hard. Normally, when an object falls, it will fall in at least 4 directions: southeast, northwest, or front, back, left, 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 and right. As long as your luck is not too bad, it shouldn't hit you. Oh. Yulin was a little lucky that she could think of this level. It seems that the mental attribute of 1.0 is not reduced to the point of complete retardation. Hey, wait a minute. What is luck? Yulin first lowered his head, then raised it with a blank look on his face. Along with the sound of explosions, and in the sky full of fire, there was only a roar, and the viewing layer collapsed. In the sky, all the load-bearing columns were completely broken, and the entire viewing layer instantly collapsed in one direction. Come down. In Yulin's eyes, the viewing layer seemed to be directly above him. The shadow in front of me gradually spreads. Yulin. Li Chang'e. Sudden. Right now. In the sky full of fire, pillars exploded one after another, just as the viewing layer was about to fall on Yulin's head. As if time was going back, and everything was reversed, the collapsed pillars, burning flames, and broken glass were restored to their original appearance at a terrifying speed. Just a few seconds later, what was happening in front of everyone's eyes was that the flames were extinguished, the broken mirror was reunited, and even the collapsed load-bearing column was strangely restored to its original strong and straight state. In the blink of an eye, everything that I had just experienced was just a dream. On the Goddess Tower, the viewing layer was intact, as if nothing had happened. Yulin slowly typed another question mark. He didn't have time to think. But Li Chang'e couldn't help pinching his face, and he was extremely confused. I, the hell didn't wake up. And Lao Pan, who was carrying Harley Quinn's good friend on his side, witnessed the scene with the same surprised expression, completely unable to imagine what happened during this coming and going. Everything happened in an inexplicable explosion, but inexplicably returned to silence. No one knows what happened. Yulin was forcibly desensitized at this moment and was even more unable to think. Just lowered his head and smiled. Boom. Sudden. Not far away. The ground suddenly shook. It felt like something heavy had hit the ground hard. At the same time. Hating city. Somewhere. The place is crowded. Bustling. A beautiful young woman and a pink little girl were sitting on the bench. The little girl held a cup of milk tea in her hand and sucked it with relish, as if it was the best delicacy in the world. Hey, Xiao 11, be careful. Don't drink so fast. What if you choke? Mama, it tastes delicious, Momo. Xiao 11 chewed the straw and said vaguely. Careful. Suddenly. The beautiful young woman's voice stopped suddenly. No one around noticed that the beautiful young woman's doting expression suddenly became indifferent, like a cold machine. Zizi. The beautiful young woman looked down at Xiao 11, and suddenly there were bursts of noisy and strange sounds around her. At the same time, Xiao 11, who was happily sipping milk tea, frowned, raised her head, and looked at each other silently with her mother, a beautiful young woman. C-002, you violated the rules. The beautiful young woman's voice was erratic and she looked completely different from before. Xiao 11 didn't show any surprise at the strange scene in front of her. She just pursed her lips and snorted, how can Xiao 11? You interfere with the progress of the game. I don't have one, Xiao 11 said weakly, here obviously hasn't started yet. Don't come here. You broke the rules. I don't. You broke the rules. I don't. You broke the rules. I don't. This weird conversation would definitely attract a lot of attention if it were normal. But the strange thing is that the conversation between mother and daughter is getting louder and louder, but no one around them turns their eyes here, as if these two people are in a different world from everyone else. Abruptly, the beautiful young woman frowned slightly, raised her head, as if searching for something, and said with a bit of doubt in her indifferent tone, huh? This authority. It's so annoying, it's so annoying, it's so annoying, it's so annoying. Xiao 11 gave a sweet shout and without any warning stretched out her pink and tender palm to slap the beautiful young woman. Snapped. Xiao 11's pink palm seemed to be lightly slapping on the beautiful young woman's snow-white thigh. The beautiful young woman's face was expressionless, like a zombie. She just lowered her head and looked at the place where Xiao 11 touched. There was no fluctuation in his tone. C-002, you, Tsitsize, you actually. Acridine, I'm so scared. Snapped. The beautiful young woman's eyeball suddenly slipped from her face and rolled onto the bench. Not only that. That delicate and pretty face, like a candle, melted and disintegrated rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, such a large living person turned into a pool of blood after being slapped by Xiao 11. In the blink of an eye, the blood on the bench seeped into the bench silently, disappearing completely in an instant, as if it had never existed. Xiao 11 lowered her head. Acridine, mommy is gone, what should I do? Woo. Xiao 11 took a big sip of the sweet milk tea, her cheeks bulging. Xiao 11 moaned and cried for a while, and suddenly, her tears turned into a smile. Then, just find another mom, he. A few minutes later, a beautiful young woman with a slim figure and still charming appearance walked out of the crowd and hurriedly came to Xiao 11. Xiao 11. Where did you go? You scared mom to death. Mama. The beautiful young woman picked up Xiao 11 from the bench and held her high, her smile filled with the glory of motherhood. In Hading City, the Goddess Tower is one of the most famous landmarks in the entire city. No matter which district it is in, as long as the view is not obviously blocked, as long as you raise your head, you can see the dazzling tower in the night sky. And when the Goddess Tower was suddenly bombed, whether they were looking for Fat Rabbit, silently praising the crew, or shopping around to buy masks of the same style as the crew, in the entire Hading City, no matter who carried the at the beginning, when they saw that terrifying scene, they all stopped what they were doing. Girl, the Goddess Tower was bombed again. Etc. Why again? The entire Hading City was in an uproar. But before this kind of shock could last too long, the shock in the hearts of all the citizens of Hading City was replaced by another mood. Greater shock. Again, fighting back again? The artillery fire that covered the goddess, the viewing layer that was about to collapse, the sky that was reflected in red, the explosion that wrapped around the heaven and earth like thunder, everything was like an illusion, and like time was flowing backwards, everything was like an illusion. He shrank back inexplicably. In just a few minutes. Hading City BBS. It was already extremely chaotic. Even all the hotposts related to the crew were silently deleted. The pinned hotposts, changed one after another. In just a few minutes. Under the Goddess Tower. Zhao Yulong was extremely shocked. He was certain that what happened just now was definitely not an illusion. But Zhao Yulong couldn't explain what kind of power could restore the Goddess Tower that was about to collapse. This kind of thing is not as simple as repairing a young woman into a young girl. Even if someone has this weird skill, the spiritual energy required is definitely far beyond imagination. However, Zhao Yulong was indeed Zhao Yulong. Although he was extremely shocked and had countless doubts, he was not confused for too long. Although Zhang Huishun died in public expectation, there were still a lot of things to deal with in the aftermath. For example, the explosion of the Goddess Tower, followed by another intact scene. Just explaining this abnormality to the public was enough to give Zhao Yulong a headache for several days. Hey wait, what about that kid? Maybe he has a way to fool the public. Lao Zhao Naokyo had been in pain for a long time, and then he remembered that Yilin had sent him a message not long ago, telling him that he was downstairs. Thinking of this, Lao Zhao patted the non-existent dust on his butt and was about to leave. Suzayasu. Oda mai. Li Erpang, boss, can you help call an ambulance? Zhao Yulong made an okay gesture and smiled, don't worry, the ambulance will be here soon. As he spoke, Zhao Yulong gradually moved away and soon disappeared in front of Li Erpang and others. There was another moment of silence. Li Erpang hesitated for a long time, and finally couldn't help but said weakly, Su, Sister Su, can you start with me first? I feel like I'm going to shit. Suzayasu silently moved her body away and turned over. Good. The sound is very sweet. Seems a little more shy. No one expected that it was Oulele who rushed to the scene first carrying a small skull bag. It seems that shortly after notifying Amorendi of the crash, Oulele knew that he had no chance to survive, so he rushed to the goddess tower, wanting to join in the fun up close. The scene where the goddess tower collapsed and then reassembled also blinded Oulele's eyes. Brother, I seem to have seen a hallucination just now. Oulele ran all the way to Yilin. The corners of the mouth seemed to be stained with white mucus. I ate ice cream without wiping my mouth. Yilin's head was in a daze. It took me 3 seconds to remember that this mushroom-headed kid was called Oulele. Orale. Ouli. Yilin's pupils suddenly shrank. Perhaps it was some kind of obsession. In a weak state, even thinking had become a problem for Yilin, and a trace of obsession suddenly flashed in his mind. He stretched out his hand towards oral, video. What the hell video? Oulele's mind was filled with questions for a moment. Tonight's, all videos. Although Yilin is not thinking right now, he seems to remember that there is one more important thing left to do. When Oulele heard this, he immediately understood. He took out a mini U-disc the size of a fingernail like a treasure, and said with a stern face, Brother, don't worry, I copied them all. As for the backups in Hating City, I, oral, deleted them all. There is absolutely no way to restore it, even if Jesus comes, it will be useless, Olele, said it. Yilin snatched the mini USB drive over. Olele. Right now. Zhao Yulong's expression was unusually heavy as he walked over from the other side of the goddess tower. When he found that Li Chang'e and Yilin looked intact, he breathed a sigh of relief. Huh? What is that kid doing squatting on the ground? Zhao Yulong was slightly surprised, but he didn't think too much. Seeing Oulele here, he immediately asked, Lele, have you finished processing the monitoring equipment? Oulele suddenly straightened up, with a stern look on his face, my name is Oulele. Don't worry, Uncle Zhao, Oulele is absolutely reliable in doing things. By the way, where's the team leader? Oulele said blankly, I don't know, maybe he left. Zhao Yulong was speechless. This is an invincible style. He quietly counted on his fingers. Now Amorendi is rushing back to the capital overnight, and maybe he can read a celebratory speech, cut a cake or something for the second half of the celebration party for the 17th anniversary of Mo Mengmeng learning to walk ceremony. Although the time is a bit tight, it should still be in time. After all, that girl Mo Mengmeng is known as a night owl in the circle. Tuk tuk tuk. Forget it, there is no need for Amorendi to deal with anything here anyway. Zhang Huishan is dead. The other remaining apostles in Hating City, as long as they are not stupid, I believe they will quietly leave the city on their own. What more nonsense will come out? There are really some people who don't have long-sightedness, haha. Oh, by the way, remember to call an ambulance. Hey, wait a minute, one won't be enough, I need 3. After speaking, Zhao Yulong sighed silently. Oulele was shocked when he heard this. He hesitated for a moment, and when he saw the heavy expression on Zhao Yulong's eyebrows, which was vaguely tired from the vicissitudes of life, Oulele seemed to understand something, and a faint sadness arose in his heart, as if he had matured in an instant. Many people said, there is no joy in life, no fear in death, Uncle Zhao, look at it. Zhao Yulong was suddenly startled, what are you talking about? Huh? Didn't you say they were dead? When Zhao Yulong heard this, he couldn't laugh or cry for a moment. When did I say they were dead? Hurry up and call an ambulance. They are thick-skinned, so they probably won't die. But if you wait any longer, you might not be able to hold on anymore. Oh, Lele immediately became happy again. Tuk tuk tuk. It took a few more minutes. The area around the goddess tower became lively again. Team after team of special team field personnel carried stretchers and carried away the masked apostles on the ground. Another team of people drove a water tanker and washed away the blood-splattered ground like crazy. No matter how busy they were, the aftermath had to be done well. Zhao Yulong suddenly pulled out the knife stuck on the ground and took a closer look. No wonder even Zhang Huishan was fooled. The shape of this ancient knife was indeed somewhat similar to that of Oda Mai. Just find a broken hand and stick it on it to make it look fake. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. Of course, realistic props are also indispensable. Tuk tuk tuk. Zhao Yulong wiped the sweat from his forehead and felt his legs were a little weak. After all, it was overloaded and overweight. Falling directly from the top really made Zhao Yulong extremely weak. It was really thanks to the fat man and his wife that they were both power apostles and their health points were very durable. If it had been anyone else, they might not have been able to survive. There is another reason why Li Erpang and Suzayasu fell so badly and overlapped, because Zhao Yulong took special care of Miss Oda Wu. Ability is slightly tilted that way. Tuk tuk tuk. It took another 10 minutes. Zhao Yulong finally used the fastest speed to clean up the large-scale performance site, and then took time out. Oh, by the way, Lele, I almost forgot, remember to leave a backup copy of tonight's impact. There are some tonight things are extremely strange, I have to analyze them carefully when I get back. He couldn't imagine why someone with the ability to restore the goddess tower so perfectly had never appeared in the files of the special group. The appearance of such a person in his yard really made Zhao Yulong sleepless and uneasy. Lele frowned, but soon smiled and said, Uncle Zhao, don't worry, isn't this necessary? The backup has been made long ago, it is the only copy, and it is encrypted and stored in the USB flash drive. Awesome, Zhao Yulong knew Lele's urinary properties a long time ago, so he smiled directly and gave Lele a thumbs up. Children are easy to deal with. If you coax them a little and give them some pocket money, they will naturally pee. Work hard and hard. Awesome. That's a must. Sure enough, Lele started to get angry again. Tuk 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 tuk. What about the USB flash drive? Oh, it's at Brother Lin's place. Lele participated in Lin's entire deception plan. At this time, she was completely convinced of Lin's layout and had nothing to say. Call out. Zhao Yulong heard this. I immediately had a bad feeling. Lin? By the way, what is Lin squatting on the ground doing? It seems like you have been squatting for a long time, right? He's a bit, not quite like this kid, isn't he? At this time, Lin finally finished her troubles, raised her head, met Zhao Yulong's strange eyes, and grinned. In Lin's hand, she held a dull red knife. By the way, Zhang Huishan is dead, why don't you quickly put your big baby away? Good. Lin was stunned for a moment, shook her head, and put the blood jasmine away as she was told. Why do you feel that Yiren is a bit silly and cute? Were you fooled by Zhang Huishan? Are you hurt? No, haha. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? No, haha. What day is it today? Nothing, haha. Zhao Yulong, are you stupid? Sudden. Lele suddenly exploded with a mushroom head and rushed to Lin's feet, digging up a small pile of shiny gray ash from the ground. I cried instantly, my USB flash drive. Zhao Yulong. Lin, haha. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 167. 2 days later. Yilin was lying on the hospital bed, wearing a blue striped hospital gown. Although the clothes were clean and had no odor, Yilin always had the inexplicable sense of déjà vu and the illusion of returning to a nursing home in Gotham. The past 2 days, it's been pretty quiet. No one knows what he has been through in the past 2 days. Thinking of the embarrassing things that happened in the past 2 days, Yilin had the urge to kill everyone. Of course, this is just a joke. But when he fell into a weak state, he was indeed very destructive. He vaguely remembered that Zhao Yulong had visited him several times, and even asked a senior psychiatric professor to see if he should be sent to a psychiatric asylum. And 9,528 bunk beds. By the way, let Lao Pen revisit his hometown. The thought of almost becoming Pangenji made Yilin break into a cold sweat. It is conceivable that as an apostle, once he is admitted to an asylum for mental disorders, his level of custody must be terrifyingly high. Tuk tuk tuk. There was a knock on the door. Enter. Yilin sighed and decided not to think about it anymore. A sneaky figure came in. Wearing a hat, mask, and sunglasses, it is a very typical Li Changa style of attire. Hee. Yilin smiled as usual. Li Changa groaned and quickly locked the door. After heaving a sigh of relief, he resolutely took off his plain and simple disguise. Oh, you are a good person, why do you become so stupid just because you say you are stupid? Li Changa was not a fool. At first, he thought Yilin was pretending to be serious, but later he realized something was wrong. Yilin answered every question he asked and seemed to be a little different. Well. Li Changa sighed deeply again. Because he was beaten up in front of the goddess tower, his face seemed to be a little bruised, but it didn't matter. Li Changa had already ordered the most advanced facial mask from abroad overnight. I believe it won't be long before he will soon be able to return to his peak appearance. Boss, Li Changa, have finally failed you. Even if you are stupid, you are still my boss. Li Changa showed a hint of sadness and raised his head with deep eyes. Hee. Yilin smiled again. This smile was very familiar to Li Changa. Anyway, no matter what anyone said to Yiren would just giggle happily, unable to communicate normally at all, and she would look like another Pangenji. This is a bit uncomfortable. Li Changa sat down beside the bed. Keep your head down. Eyelids droop slightly. He didn't realize that Yilin's smile contained a bit of coldness and a hint of murderous intent. Suddenly again. Li Changa magically pulled out a brand new rattle from behind his back. Ta 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 ta. Li Changa had a mean smile on his face, his style suddenly changed, he shook the rattle vigorously, and said with a smile, do you want to play? If you want to play, just say it, call me boss, my handsome Li Changa will never refuse. Yilin smiled coldly. Thinking of the series of stupid things Li Changa had done in the past few days when he was in a weak state, Yilin did not hesitate to raise his telekinesis and condense it into a palm as big as a cattail leaf fan. Invisible and colorless, it slapped Li Changa hard on the face. The kind that sucks you to death. Snapped. Left cheek. Li Changa was stunned by the sudden slap. Who the hell hit me? Snapped. Right cheek. Who the hell hit me again? Snap. Open the bow left and right. Li Changa was frightened and cried. Why did Mao suddenly feel that this encounter was so familiar? Snap, 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 snap. Yilin didn't know who was left or right, and blindly slapped Li Changa's face to death. Finally, Yilin felt comfortable. Well, sure enough, psychological experts are right. If some negative emotions are not vented in a way, it will indeed affect a person's mental state. At the very least, the heart rate monitor next to Yilin had stabilized a lot after beating Li Changa hard. Thank you, brother Changa. Huh? Li Changa? Why are you here? Yilin suddenly woke up, frowned, and looked at Li Changa sitting on the chair beside the bed with confusion. When did you come, and why did your face become so swollen? Li Changa was already out of breath and unconscious from the beating, but when he heard Yilin's normal voice, he woke up suddenly, lay down on the bed and hugged Yilin's thigh, crying sadly, "Big brother, boss, boss. Help me. Help me. I seem to be haunted again." Oh, Yilin suddenly realized, something happened again. Li Changa's face was swollen and he nodded wildly. I don't know if it's because he's used to being slapped, but surprisingly, no messy special effects appeared this time. Yilin pointed at Li Changa's back with a straight face. "Are you sure it's you? By the way, the mother spirit behind you, it seems like it hasn't been solved yet." Li Changa was stunned. It seems to make sense. Ever since that incident was over and everything was calm, maybe because he was used to being pressured, Li Changa was able to fall asleep comfortably in the middle of the night, no longer tossing and turning, and no longer sleep alone. He even forgot that this was a night. A strange incident is coming. Now that Yilin mentioned it, Li Changa suddenly remembered that this mother spirit seemed to be a time bomb. "Boss, help me." Just when Li Changa hugged his thigh tightly, someone knocked on the door again. Li Changa looked at Yilin. It was broad daylight and the world was bright. As a last resort, Li Changa could only open the door silently. "Huh? What's your last name, brother?" The person who came to visit was the little fat man. A stronger version of the fat classmate. In the Hating City incident, Li Erpang first drank a bottle of huge magic potion, and then lost weight again. Now Li Erpang is desperately eating various high-calorie foods to replenish the lost fat. While gnawing on the synthetic chicken legs, Li Erpang saw that the person who opened the door was a stranger who was as swollen as a pig's head. He couldn't help but frown and resisted the urge to slap him. After all, for a while, he couldn't tell whether he was an enemy or a friend. The relationship between apostles is very dangerous. "Sumi. Sumi. Li Changa. Huh." As soon as Li Changa finished speaking, he suddenly felt that the scene was inexplicably familiar, as if something similar had happened somewhere at a certain time. "Li Changa," Li Erpang shouted, "who is this monster? How dare you pretend to be Li Changa? Look at you, fatty, I won't beat you to death." I really like Li Changa. Li Changa was about to cry but had no tears. How to prove? Li Changa thought for a while, quickly worked up his emotions, and suddenly a chrysanthemum bloomed behind his back. "Oh. It's really you. Then it's okay," Li Erpang nodded with a calm expression, then put away the slap he was about to slap, and soon asked with a curious look on his face, "Why were you beaten like this? Has the powder been discovered?" "Right now." Li Erpang shrank all over. I'm sorry, Sister Su, I'm going in right now, I'm going in right now." Li Erpang was kicked by Suzayasu from behind. He was so frightened that his anus tightened and he hurriedly opened the door. Suzayasu lowered her head hard and squeezed in through the narrow door. "You little fat guy is really a clever little guy." When Yilin saw Li Erpang's narrowed eyes, he instantly remembered the dirty words the little fat man had said in this room in the past 2 days. At once, Yilin said nothing. Seizing the opportunity when Li Erpang and Suzayasu stood side by side, Yilin silently simulated the shape of a small slap using the power of her mind, and slapped Suzayasu's well-developed gluteus maximus several times hard. Puff 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 puff. Because Suzayasu's muscles were too strong, and if she didn't exert enough force, it would probably be the same as being bitten by a mosquito. And with all the strength, I guess it's just right. Sure enough, Yilin had just finished filming. Suzayasu silently glanced at Li Erpang and whispered, "Don't be here." Li Erpang looked confused. Seeing this, Yilin nodded with satisfaction. "Little fat man, You will thank me later. Perhaps, this is the legendary virtue of repaying evil with kindness. Huh? Are you normal, kid? Li Erpang had no idea what happened not long ago. He squinted his eyes and looked at Yilin for a while before he came to his senses. After all, in his opinion, with how cunning this kid was, he would never be defeated so easily. When something goes wrong, there must be a monster. Fine. Yilin didn't explain much. Only then did he realize that Li Erpang and Suzayasu were both wearing the same blue and white striped hospital gowns as he was. This is a bit nostalgic. It really made Yilin feel like she was back in a nursing home. Yilin's heart moved slightly. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but shortly after Li Erpang and Suzayasu came in, Zhao Yulong, Oyu Lele, and Lao Pan also came together. Zhao Yulong expressed some surprise that Yilin returned to normal. He didn't beat around the bush and directly asked about the reason for Yilin's strange state in the past 2 days. And Yilin had already thought of her words when she slapped Li Chang'e fiercely. Not long after Zhao Yulong raised the question, he looked calm and with a wry smile, he brought out the words he had prepared. It's just that Zhang Huishun had too many skills. Yilin worked hard and used all his cards, and finally exhausted Zhang Huishun. However, before he died, he was hit by a skill from Zhang Huishun that forced him into a weak state for 48 hours, resulting in a huge mental power. After falling, a series of stupid things happened. Zhao Yulong thought about Yilin's explanation carefully and had no doubts. After all, it was reasonable and reasonable. Zhang Huishun had killed so many apostles, and no matter how unlucky he was, he could still draw out a lot of props and skills. In Zhao Yulong's view, it was already a miracle that Yilin could kill Zhang Huishun and return to the real world alive. As for the details of Yilin's killing of Zhang Huishun, Zhao Yulong didn't ask much. After all, everyone's skill details are the biggest secret, and Zhao Yulong will not force others to do so. Speaking of the whole thing, Zhao Yulong couldn't help but feel a little emotional. He also didn't expect that Zhang Huishun, a mere second-level apostle, could fool everyone around him and almost destroy the goddess tower. It really made people feel the mystery and impermanence of this circle. Yilin also inquired about the follow-up of the Zhang Huishun incident. Finally, based on the statistics of all the corpses removed from Hading City, in this Zhang Huishun incident, regardless of whether Zhang Huishun directly acted or not, there were as many as 212 apostles who died in Hading City alone. This number may seem small, but Yilin knows very well what a terrifying number it is. When Yilin killed Henry Zhang and took away Henry Zhang's apostle registration qualification, the number was just 1010. This is the number that originally belonged to Henry Zhang. Moreover, this was the result of Zhao Yulong's immediate shock after learning about the realistic mission. Otherwise, the death toll of the apostles would have been even higher than it is now. Yilin carefully recalled everything he had experienced in the past 2 days. Fortunately, his biggest secret was not exposed. And, everything in dual space. Yilin actually had many doubts in her heart. But Yilin didn't plan to tell anyone until she figured it out. Including Zhang Huishun's undead identity and Zhang Huishun's real name. Yilin had a calm expression and easily fooled Zhao Yulong. Zhao Yulong asked by the way whether Li Erpang and others had plans to join the special group. Li Erpang, I just want to gain weight quietly. Suzayasu looked at the little fat man silently and shook his head. Lao Pan lowered his head, silently took out his baseball bat, and started stroking it. Li Chang'e didn't even think about it. Don't make trouble, I'm a big star. Facing the different rejections from Li Erpang and the others, Zhao Yulong felt quite regretful in his heart, but if he thought about it carefully, if he recruited these guys, he might cause more trouble. Not to mention that Suzayasu and Li Erpang have special status and family background. Li Chang'e has many fans in the real world and it is inconvenient to go do anything. As for Lao Pan, forget it. In short, Zhao Yulong thought about the idea of recruiting new people for a while and then quickly gave up the plan. As for what he said, treat it as if he farted accidentally. After the smell dissipates, treat it as if it had never farted. Well, by the way, where is my Oda? Only then did Yulin realize that Oda Mai seemed to be missing from the small team throughout the entire plan. Haha, she left the next day. It is said that she was busy looking for the spirit-possessed weapon that was lost in the family. Regarding the whereabouts of Oda Mai, old Zhao did not hide anything, and then quickly showed a regretful expression. Tisk, actually it doesn't matter whether the little fat guy and the others join or not, it is dispensable. That little girl, whether it is me or the team, they are all very greedy. What a pity, what a pity, tisk, 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 tisk. When Li Erpang heard this, he shouted unhappily, "Old Zhao, you said that we can't make friends happily." Zhao Yulong winked and smiled lewdly. "Do you really want to make friends with our special group?" Hee, you can. I'm sorry to bother you. Goodbye. Oh no, I'll never see you again from now on. Please have a lot of help, Uncle Zhao. I'm still a child. Don't look for me again in the future. Li Erpang then remembered that it was not a good thing to be associated with the special group. He was so frightened that he let out a bunch of words and left Yilin's ward as fast as possible without stopping. The others looked at each other. Half a minute later, Suzayasu also said goodbye politely and seemed to be chasing the little fat man. Yilin watched Li Erpang and Suzayasu leave one after another, and couldn't help but said seriously, "True love." Zhao Yulong also expressed emotion. That little fat guy will definitely become a great person in the future. Pan Xiaozheng, hey, it's pretty good. Li Chang'e. Olele. After a moment, everyone came to their senses. Suddenly, all eyes focused on Zhao Yulong. In the future? Big weapon? It seems that upon careful consideration, something is not quite right about this. Huh? Why are you looking at me like this? Zhao Yulong couldn't laugh or cry. Everyone silently looked away again. Zhao Yulong chuckled, chewed a piece of tasteless chewing gum, and asked Yilin, "Well, it just so happens that you are normal. I originally planned to send you to a shelter, you know, you can't blame me. Ahem, anyway, what are your plans next? There are all apostles present. Even if old Pan is disabled, they are still considered half of the apostles." So Yilin didn't hide anything and smiled slightly. "There is nothing going on in Xingqiang for the time being. It doesn't matter whether I go back or not. Next, I should concentrate on preparing for the next trial. Since you have nothing to do you want to take a tailwind helicopter and go back to the capital with me?" Capital? Yilin lowered her head and thought for a moment. It seems, that's not a bad idea. Correct. The Dionysian factor in his body, Molly also said at that time that she would do some related examinations for him to find out whether there were other abnormalities in his body. Well, from what Zhao Yulong said, it seems like a good idea to visit the capital before the next trial. Moreover, Yilin has another idea, that she wants to try. Thinking of this, Yilin smiled slightly. "Okay." Oyu Lele and Zhao Yulong left together. Throw Lao Pan down again. It seemed that after leaving Lao Pan behind, Zhao Yulong breathed a sigh of relief, and he didn't know why. But then Yilin casually mentioned this matter, and Zhao Yulong told Yilin that in the past 2 days, Lao Pan always sat alone in the corridor in the dead of night, silently stroking a strange stick, lost in ecstasy, and scared many people to urinate in the middle of the night. The patient who urinates and the nurse. This is something. The armed helicopter returning to the capital will not arrive in Hading City until about noon tomorrow. Boss. You won't leave me behind, right? Didn't you promise that you will never leave me in this life? Li Chang'e started crying again. Seeing how miserable Li Chang'e was, Yulin couldn't help but feel a little guilty. If Li Chang'e hadn't been slapped so hard just now, Li Chang'e wouldn't be so frightened now. Perhaps, no one would know that in the whole Zhanghuishan incident, there was actually an unowned and possessed weapon, but no one could find it. Yulin thought for a while and asked, "Are you sure you have tried everything that may be a spirit-possessed weapon?" Li Chang'e nodded. Haha, actually, not only those that look like weapons can be used as spiritually possessed weapons. Some possessed weapons are even a toothbrush, a pack of tissues, and a car. In short, basically you may think of it, or you may not imagine it, it may become a spirit-possessed weapon. What the hell? You can still do this. Yulin's words immediately made Li Chang'e show a shocked expression, which indeed exceeded the upper limit of his imagination. Boss, I'm going to look for it." When Li Chang'e heard this, his eyes lit up and he seemed to have some ideas, so he grabbed Lao Pan and ran out without knowing what he had in mind. Then the room became quiet again. "Call." Yulin suddenly stretched out a finger. "Focus all your attention on your fingertips." In silence. On Yulin's fingertips, something seemed to condense together without warning, and the light around the fingertips was slightly distorted. After a while, Yulin was sweating profusely. He put his palm down again. "Isn't it really that easy? Yes, this is a more advanced technique. Forget it, let's wait until we get to the capital and the surrounding area is safer before we give it a try." Yulin didn't intend to continue toiling in the ward. He was afraid, if it exploded, he would be in trouble. Previously, in order to prevent Yulin and others from looking too special, Zhao Yulong did not place Yulin and the little fat man in a special ward. This was just an ordinary single room. Basically, you could live in it with a little money, so it was not too much special. However, Zhao Yulong also deployed a lot of people secretly to protect the safety of these guys. What's more, Li Erpang and Suzayasu seemed to have suffered a terrible fall, but the second day after being admitted to the hospital, they were already alive and kicking, and most of their injuries had recovered. This is the benefit of the power side apostles, their vitality is terrifyingly tenacious. After Yulin woke up, she actually wanted to understand one thing. No matter what, there may be situations where you deceive me and I deceive you, but generally speaking, these guys did not take advantage of their weak state to add insult to injury, which is enough to be called the best among the apostles. Good friend. Although Li Erpang didn't mention it, he still stayed in the hospital after he was alive and kicking. The ward was next to Yulin. He must have wanted to keep Yulin a few more days to see if Yulin could return to normal. Of course, this kind of friendship is also limited. If Yulin still can't change in 10.5 months, the little fat man will never wait foolishly for a long time. After all, the relationship between him and Yulin was not to the point of being dependent on each other for life and death. By nightfall, Li Chang'e and Lao Pan, who went out to look for spirit-possessed weapons, finally returned to the ward. It is said that after Li Chang'e was beaten like this, no one in his company recognized Li Chang'e at all at first. It was only later that after his manager Zhang Hanlu worked hard to identify him, he finally recognized this version of Li Chang'e. Zhang Hanlu was so frightened that he almost couldn't bear it. "Call the police." "Found it?" Yulin smiled slightly. "Well, I found it." Li Chang'e frowned, his expression hard to describe. Yulin was startled for a moment, then without saying a word, he released Bai Xiao Ai. Insert eyes. Yo. Really? When he came back this time, the mother spirit behind Li Chang'e was nowhere to be found. "Oh," Yulin was a little surprised, "looking at your expression, could it be that this possessed weapon is bound to your soul?" Li Chang'e was shocked. You, how do you know?" Lao Pan chuckled, "Bah! Scumbag!" Li Chang'e. Seeing that Yulin had guessed the outcome, Li Chang'e did not continue to fidget, reached into the storage space, and took out a card with a gray card back. On the front of the card, the style is extremely weird. The upper part of the card is completely covered by black hair, which is dancing like an evil ghost. The eyes have no whites and are as black as ink, while the lower part of the card is dressed in a pure white dress, spotless. Li Chang'e crushed the card. Countless points of light quickly converged into a pure handmade puppet in Li Chang's ear. The handmade puppets are a bit like the Q version of the mother spirit, a little less weird and a little more cute. Finally seeing the true face of this spirit-possessed weapon, Yilin thoughtfully asked tentatively, "Is this a cursed spirit-possessed weapon?" Li Chang'e had a sad face and nodded helplessly. "Curse type." Yilin nodded, which was a bit beyond Yilin's expectation. But thinking about it carefully, it seems that this can explain the reason why the mother spirit is lying on Li Chang'e's back. It seems that he is really a fanatical fan. Cursed soul-possessed weapons are hard to guard against. Although they have no direct lethality, if Li Chang'e uses them just right, they will indeed cause a lot of headaches. Although Yilin was a little curious, she didn't bother asking. After all, cursed weapons have restrictions, such as hair, body fluids, etc., or other weird conditions. I believe that as long as Li Chang'e was not stupid, he would not spread such confidential information around after seeing the properties of the possessed weapon. Wait a minute, this cursed spirit weapon is actually pretty good, and its type is pretty rare. Why are you looking like this? Because. Li Chang'e sighed deeply, he's not handsome enough. Yilin. Li Chang'e added recklessly, as long as your charm is about the same as mine, I think you can understand how I feel. Alas. Yilin suddenly felt the urge to hang Li Chang'e up and give him another round of whipping. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 168. After solving the supernatural incident on Li Chang'e, Yilin's trip to Hating City finally came to an end. Taking advantage of her free time, Yilin browsed the forum a little. With Oulele's intentional intervention, he directly suppressed the popularity of the post about the Zhanghuishun incident and finally quietly erased it without leaving any trace. Occasionally, one or two posts get brushed up, but it doesn't make any waves. After all, this is an era where traffic is king, and internet celebrities are updated very quickly. If a weird thing like Fat Rabbit pops up at random, it will soon become the pink wave behind that kills the previous wave on the beach. That's why when Li Chang'e was on vacation, his manager Zhang Hanlu was so worried that Li Chang'e's popularity would drop as he took vacation. It seems that as a big star, Li Chang'e has to maintain a certain degree of popularity, which is not as easy as it seems on the surface. In addition to the masquerade, the explosion of the Goddess Tower also caused a wave of excitement in Hating City. However, because the Goddess Tower was inexplicably restored by some mysterious force, and Zhao Yulong later found a guise of the latest reality-enhanced special effects technology to deceive this abnormal event, various means were used, and finally it's to cover it up. Later, I heard that Li Erpang's father, Mayor Li, specially met with Zhao Yulong because of this incident. Yilin didn't know the details of this. Until before leaving, Yilin never saw Li Erpang and Suzayasu again. Li Chang'e's life is back on track. Although Yilin slapped Li Chang'e hard for letting out anger, the skin injury will be fine after a few days of rest. In addition, Li Chang'e spent a lot of money to maintain his face. I believe he will be able to return to his original state soon. Yilin felt comfortable staying in the single ward of the hospital for one night. You don't have to pay for it yourself anyway. After all, he is now a regular employee of the special group. This time he is hospitalized and can be reimbursed as a work-related injury. It is said that he may also receive work-related injury subsidies. The next day, Zhao Yulong and Oulele arrived as scheduled. Lao Pan rubbed his stick and decided to take a ride with Yilin to the capital. What makes Lao Pan extremely depressed is that even in this major incident, he failed to find a way to restore his status as an apostle. Seeing that the next trial is coming, if we can't find a way, we don't know what will happen by then. It's better if you can't get into the trial, but if you do, it's still useless. It's better to just hit yourself in the head with a stick and try your luck to see if you can knock Pangenji back with the stick. There are some things that some people don't know how to cherish while they are there, but they will regret it once they are lost. Pan Xiaozhang felt like this at the moment. He actually hoped that Pangenji would quickly bubble up and log in. After all, the life of this mobile warehouse is not easy. Even that scumbag Li Chang'e despised him, which made Pan Xiaozhang feel very uncomfortable. In the hospital, there is a spacious apron. Rumble, rumble. When the heavy armed helicopter landed on the apron, it attracted countless eyes. Uninformed people have speculated about what kind of big shot lives in the hospital that could cause such a fight. What made Yilin feel a little surprised? Li Chang'e actually came to see him off. Hey, boss, there's something, I don't know whether I should talk about it or not. After a few polite words, Li Chang'e went straight to the topic, stroking his palms, as if he wanted to stop talking. Yilin pondered Li Chang'e's expression, and after a few seconds she showed a look of surprise. Oh, you want to say, about the batsuit change thing, right? When Li Chang'e heard this, he was instantly shocked. In his heart, he admired the boss so much that he gave a thumbs up to Yilin. The boss is awesome. He knows things like a god. Yilin suddenly remembered the properties of that suit and couldn't help but feel a headache. Forget it, let me lend it to you first. Yilin didn't say anything. What if his charm value increased in the future and he could be used? Li Chang'e, yes, but, that epic piece of equipment is broken. Click click click. The sound of breaking glass suddenly sounded in Yilin's ears. It seemed to reflect Li Chang'e's mentality at the moment. Collapse. When Yilin heard this, he couldn't help laughing. Durability is gone. It seems that you suffered a lot of beatings that day. When Li Chang'e heard this, he instantly recalled the painful experience of that night in his mind, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. That's all thanks to the face given by my colleagues. It doesn't matter, Yilin waved his hand. If you have the opportunity to advance to the third level, you will naturally have a way to repair it. Yo, Li Chang'e heard this and his expression was slightly startled. Boss, do you even know about the third level? Yilin shook her head mysteriously. I am the special group. When Li Chang'e heard this, he suddenly understood. At the same time, he filled up a lot of information in his mind, and he felt that Yilin was even more unfathomable. After thinking about it carefully, Li Chang'e asked cautiously, then, what if there is no chance of rising to the third level? No chance. Yilin glanced at Li Chang'e and felt that something was wrong with Li Chang'e. If you don't have the chance to advance to the third level, you will just die in the middle. So whether to repair it or not, is there any difference? Li Chang'e's anus suddenly tightened, and the special effects exploded silently. After a while, Li Chang'e also thought about it. Why not just advance to the third level? It's not difficult. Not to mention, now that I have the spirit enchanted weapon in my hand, I have it all in the world, ha 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 ha. It took Li Chang'e a very short time to correct his mentality, but he couldn't help but start to feel jealous again deep in his heart. At the urging of Zhao Yulong and Ou Lele, Yilin prepared to board an armed helicopter and head to the capital. Lao Pan was already sitting upright in his position, with a serious expression on his face, silently stroking the stick in his hand. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the stick felt really good, and the more he stroked it, the smoother it became. It truly is an epic weapon. Hey! Wait! Boss, seeing Yilin preparing to leave, Li Chang'e couldn't help being pretentious. Boss, are you sure you really don't need this epic equipment now? I feel a little embarrassed. Yilin suddenly turned his head expressionlessly and said extremely seriously, do you think, with my strength, I will rely on such flashy equipment? Li Chang'e was stunned. You think I won't be able to fit into this outfit? Li Chang'e thought about it and realized that it made sense. After all, the equipment restrictions were not high, so he shook his head as a matter of course. That's enough. Yilin patted Li Chang'e on the shoulder. This equipment is dispensable to me, so you don't have to be embarrassed. It's just lent to you anyway. I'll remember it someday. I'll just ask you to come back. After saying that, Yilin didn't want to listen to Li Chang'e's nonsense and resolutely boarded the plane. The airflow from the propeller set off a strong wind, which instantly messed up Li Chang'e's hair and also messed up Li Chang'e's heart. Seeing the helicopter flying higher and higher, Li Chang'e was suddenly so moved that he shouted into the sky, "Big brother! Big brother! I, Li Chang'e, am willing to follow the big brother for the rest of my life and never leave him." On the armed helicopter, Yilin urged with an expressionless face, "Please drive faster, I'm afraid I won't be able to help but slap him again." For an armed helicopter, the propeller is only responsible for lifting and lowering. When it reaches a certain height, the pilot presses the button, and the helicopter turns into a low-altitude jet in seconds. With a whoosh, the people in the helicopter experience the silent acceleration in the air. Before Lao Pan could take a few more steps, the group had already arrived at the capital of the Dragon Kingdom. Compared with Huading City, which is full of modern atmosphere, the first impression given by the capital is much calmer. It is like a city that has gone through thousands of years of vicissitudes, telling the various trajectories of history to everyone who walks in the capital. This is a city of eternity. At the very least, there are no messy holographic projection advertisements in the sky. Well, there is no Li Chang'e either. Solemn and solemn. Yilin felt inexplicably comfortable. Yilin suddenly discovered. Looking down from a high position, I found that around the periphery of the capital, there were actually many industrial robots busy building some kind of buildings under human control. Looking carefully again, Yilin's pupils shrank slightly. If you read it correctly, what those industrial robots built seems to be a heavy steel wall. Could it be? Yilin's eyes flashed, but there was nothing strange on the surface. Zhao Yulong glanced at Yilin and chuckled, "First time in the capital? Hee, do you want to go to the headquarters of the special forces first?" Yilin pretended to think for a while, then shook his head, "Forget it, next time. I came to the capital this time to talk to Meng Meng about something." Looking for that girl, Zhao Yulong was slightly startled at first, and then showed a meaningful smile, and he said, "Oh, I see, it doesn't matter, young people, remember to take care of yourself. Oh, by the way, for the sake of hating in view of the fact that you have made a lot of contributions to the city, I will give you a warm and friendly reminder. Yilin. Hey, because of the follow-up to the Zhanghuishun incident, the team leader seems to be busy with meetings these days. As long as you hide in that girl's laboratory and don't show up, I guess the team leader won't find out. Don't worry, I'm very strict with my words. I promise not to. I will talk nonsense in front of the team leader, my character is guaranteed. How dare you vouch for your personality?" Yilin sighed and didn't bother to explain, "Molly's laboratory, you should know the location. Leave me and Lao Pan down first." "Olu." Zhao Yulong waved his hand, and with an expression of fear that the world would be in chaos, he quickly arrived above the laboratory where Molly was located. Generally speaking, if an unregistered UFO dares to enter the sky above the capital, it will be shot down in minutes. But now Yilin is flying on a special plane. To a certain extent, it can fly unobstructed at low altitudes and drive anywhere. Molly's laboratory covers a large area. It is located on the outskirts of the capital. The entire laboratory is based on white. At first glance, the shape of the laboratory looks like a small typhoon spiraling into the sky, and the helipad can accommodate a helicopter, which is in the eye of the storm. If Yilin hadn't been very familiar with this place in her previous life, perhaps she wouldn't have been able to help but look at this weird design a few more times. It is said that the laboratory design sketch was written by Molly herself. In Yulin's impression, apart from having low emotional intelligence, this girl Molly seems to be omnipotent. The layers of protection were opened with the authorization of the laboratory, and the helicopter landed on the apron smoothly. Yulin just stepped off the helicopter under the wink of Lao Zhao. As soon as she raised her head, Yulin saw Molly yawning. One foot was wearing a pink slipper, the other was bare. She was wearing a loose long sleeve and twisted one of her white shoulders. But he was wearing cool shorts hanging under his body, and he was walking towards this direction listlessly. Ga ga go. Rush. 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 When Lao Zhao saw this battle, he didn't stop and kicked Lao Pan out of the helicopter, then furiously urged the pilot to get out of the way. Well, how should I report this matter to the team leader? Directly speaking? Or indirectly? Or do you say it in a subtle way? Or are you talking about it while driving? Zhao Yulong fastened his seat belt steadily and hesitated with a headache. Personality guarantee? Nothing. Well, no, sure. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 169. This is not the first time Yulin has come to Molly's laboratory. In fact, if Yulin opened this new map for the first time, he would probably be a little confused about the abbreviation of the laboratory door. KAMMXW. It is said that when this impressive-looking laboratory plaque was first unveiled, it caused countless people to speculate on what kind of laboratory it was that had such a long English abbreviation. The meaning of this mysterious abbreviation has been kept secret from Molly for many years. It claims to the outside world that it is just Molly Laboratory. But Yulin knew that this was the evil intention of the old man who controls his granddaughter. The pinyin abbreviation of Cute and Men Cottage. This is also the reason why Molly won't announce it even to death. There are various young researchers around, wearing formal white coats, rushing about, but they also look towards the tarmac from time to time. The only thing they found strange was that their immediate boss and genius researcher Molly would put aside her busy work and come to the tarmac to greet her. What kind of big shot he was. However, these researchers were only slightly curious and did not stop for too long like the crowd. After all, not long ago, Molly was like a maniac, launching dozens of very difficult subjects at the same time, making the entire laboratory staff busy in a morbid and crazy way. To put it bluntly, it means, no time. You haven't finished any work, don't you want to have lunch? There is no time to gossip. Acridine Molly yawned lazily. She half closed her eyes and walked up to Yulin in a daze. She said hello casually, you are here. There is nothing to worry about in Hating City, are you coming, Yao Matzi? Yulin smiled, it's settled. Huh, Molly then noticed that there was a weird man with messy hair behind Yulin, who was stroking a stick with his head lowered. His squinted eyes widened a little in an instant. Who is this? How did you put this strange man? Did you bring some weird guy to this lady's territory? Strange. Yulin looked back. Seeing Lao Pan focusing on Harley Quinn's best friend, he immediately took a few steps away without changing his expression and introduced him casually. Old Pan, the same kind. Oh Molly understood, but she couldn't help looking at Lao Pan from time to time. To be precise, he should be looking towards the stick. Although it looked like an ordinary stick, Lao Pan's expression was so focused that Molly was puzzled. Is it really that fun? Huh? Oh Molly suddenly recalled, so this guy is Pangenji. Yulin was walking and stopped. You, investigate me again. No way, Molly straightened her ordinary curve and spoke confidently, humph. You think too much, so I am not so boring. You gave me a lot of messy things that day, and you still have the nerve to say, you think I have this free time to investigate you? Huh. Ah. Acridine. Yilin suppressed laughter. Then how do you know Pangenji? TCH, I remember that Lao Zhao mentioned this name. Oh. It's not important. Tell me, you always go to the Three Treasures Hall for nothing, and this time you suddenly came to me. What do you want to find for me? Trouble. After a pause, even Molly seemed to believe this blame shifting, so her tone became stronger. Let me declare in advance, I am already too busy here, many projects are being carried out. If you have nothing to do, you will find trouble for me. Believe it or not, I asked you to pay other people's wages. Ahem, didn't you ask me to come to you for a blood test? Yilin's eyes twitched slightly. Huh, Molly suddenly realized it, and seemed to have finally remembered this matter. Yes. But, this matter is not urgent. A fasting blood test will be more accurate tomorrow morning. If Yilin hadn't mentioned it, Molly might have actually forgotten about it. Wait a minute, you couldn't just find a reason to trick me here. Yilin said suddenly. Molly's expression turned cold. There was a moment of silence. Yilin. You're thinking shit. Yilin told Pan Xiaozheng a few words to let him roam freely but not to mess around, and then ignored the guy for the time being. Yilin silently followed Molly. In the end, he didn't have the heart to remind her that Molly was only wearing slippers on one foot. Well, to be fair, my feet are quite white. How far are those things going? Molly glared at Yilin expressionlessly. What do you think I am? Genius. Yes, you also know that I am not an almighty god? You don't know what you post? Are those things that can be produced in a short time? Well, I know. Yilin shrugged. I just wanted to ask to what extent it has reached. Everything has just begun, there is no need to discuss. Molly replied coldly at first, and then suddenly seemed to remember something. She turned around, her expression a little more confused. By the way, I almost forgot if you didn't tell me. Don't you think that among your list of topics, is there something that I'm not good at all? Yilin's heart moved, but her face was expressionless. Are you pretending to be stupid for me? Molly wanted to step on this guy's face a few times. The method of treating optic atrophy, this is a difficult problem in the medical field. I didn't pay attention at the time. You can find out things by just searching on the internet. The two of them walked and talked. Soon we passed through the long and narrow corridor. We came to a living room full of warmth. The velvet fabric on the sofa was all light green, and there were many fresh plants displayed on the surrounding furniture. Yilin compared it with Molly's memory of her residence, and found that it had not changed much from her impression. Ah! Molly suddenly screamed. No, no. Molly hurried into the bedroom and came out with pink slippers on both feet. It turned out that she just realized that she had walked around the entire laboratory wearing only one shoe. Yilin expressed her admiration. But he knew that Molly was thin-skinned, so he pretended not to notice. When Molly put on her shoes and came out, she found that Yilin was already sitting on the sofa and had even made coffee for herself. Her forehead was covered with black lines. My heart was a bit broken. This is my girl's territory. Why do I feel like you are more familiar with me than me? If you ask me to look for coffee, I may not be able to find it for a while. How familiar are future Molly and you, Han Dan? A few weird thoughts flashed through Molly's mind. She stepped on her slippers and became furious, just when she was about to rush over and curse. Coming. This is yours, with salt. Oh. Molly sat down opposite Yilin. Take a sip. It tastes good. So Molly suddenly forgot about her anger not long ago and happily drank the hot coffee prepared by Yilin herself. By the way, about that matter. What? It's the one with optic nerve atrophy. Yilin tried hard to choose her words. Oh, what are you talking about? Molly crossed her legs and nestled comfortably on the sofa. She crossed her legs, bent her white toes into a smooth arc, and then swayed slightly up and down. It seemed that Molly was enjoying her free time after waking up. Didn't I tell you? This is really not my area of expertise. When Yilin heard this, her heart sank slightly. But, suck it up. Molly took another sip. But I think this topic was brought up by you, it should be quite important, so I asked a few teachers who have made achievements in medicine. Yilin's expression did not change at all. Waiting silently for Molly to continue. I also spent about 10 minutes looking up relevant information. I found that yours is too general. Molly smiled and said, optic atrophy is a disease, generally divided into 4 causes. 1. Primary optic atrophy. 2. Secondary optic atrophy. 3. Ascending optic atrophy. Well, the last one is relatively rare and is related to chromosomal inheritance. So, to put it simply, if you just give these few words, there is no way to draw a conclusion. If you want to treat someone, you must first conduct a detailed examination. If you don't examine clearly, you won't be able to draw a conclusion at all. There is no way to determine the follow-up plan. Examine. Yilin smiled bitterly. Why doesn't he know? In that future, he had already used technological means and apostolic means to think of countless ways, but he could not detect the cause of Ling Yi's blindness. No matter how strong he became later, no matter how complicated his abilities became, no matter how many means he had, there was nothing he could do about Ling Yi's blindness. Ling Yi's eyes were like a thorn deep in Yilin's heart. It's like Yilin's magic barrier. Even in her previous life, Yilin had obtained some magical tools that could revive human flesh and bones, but they had no effect on Ling Yi. The higher Yiren climbs in the tower, the more she realizes her powerlessness. It felt to Yilin and Ling Yi as if some kind of existence had taken away the light. Just as Yilin said in the ultimate puzzle laid out in Gotham City. When your eyes are no longer favored by the light. He didn't expect Molly to give an answer. After all, in another future, Molly also tried to find a way to treat Ling Yi's eyes. In the end, nothing was found. Until Yilin died and returned to this timeline. Maybe this is her fate. Yilin was a little depressed. Although Yilin didn't change at all on the surface, she suddenly felt that as soon as she mentioned this matter, the atmosphere around her suddenly became a little weird. Even the coffee in my hand seemed to be less fragrant. Illusion. Isn't it? Molly took another quizzical sip of her coffee. That's not right. It's also very fragrant. Just when Molly was a little confused, the atmosphere was weird. When Molly mentioned this matter, Yilin opened the communication panel. It has become a little habit of Yilin to check with Ling Wen about Yi's safety from time to time. He casually sent a string of messages to Ling Wen. It's nothing more than, whether it's safe or something like that. Nothing special. Only. This time, Ling Wen's reply was extremely special. The other party is busy, please do not disturb. Yilin suddenly sat up from the sofa. Molly was startled. Yilin's expression was a bit scary. Molly was a little unsure and slowly typed a question mark. Yilin calmed down within seconds. Smiling at Molly, I'm going out and I'll be back soon. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 170. Oh. Molly didn't care either. Didn't ask much. But she didn't see Yilin smile slightly. After turning around, her face suddenly darkened. Every time. Ling Wen would always reply, everything is fine. Just 4 words, but Yilin felt extremely reassured and could enter the other world with peace of mind. But this time, Ling Wen said him to do not disturb. Why? What happened? Ling Wen's profile picture was still on. The name is still Ling Wen. In other words, Ling Wen is not dead. Nor did he regain his former identity. Ling Wen now should still be living with an Avenger mentality. But why? Could it be that he underestimated the human heart? Or, something went wrong somewhere? Yulin suddenly understood how Li Chang'e and Little Fatty felt after he set them to Do Not Disturb. Definitely next time. Not anymore. There was no need for Molly to lead the way. In fact, Yulin was quite familiar with the structure of this laboratory. Yulin quickly left the laboratory and went straight to the nearest underground network entrance. Halfway through, Yulin had already calmed down as quickly as possible. In the 3 years after his rebirth, he had been deliberately staying away from Ling Yiyi, trying not to change Ling Yiyi's original trajectory. Because Yulin became an apostle earlier than in another timeline, Yulin used another method to place Ling Wen next to Ling Yiyi just in case. However, Yulin also had concerns at the time. Let Ling Wen be nothing special and never approach Ling Yiyi. He had obviously calculated everything he could. Because Yulin knew very well that killing Henry Zhang and becoming an apostle in advance would definitely change the trajectory of countless people. In order to cope with this terrible butterfly effect, Yulin absolutely helped Ling Wen when she met him and gave him a reason to live. The price of living is to protect Ling Yiyi in secret while becoming stronger. Could it be that because of his early intervention, Ling Yiyi's fate became increasingly uncontrollable? As Yulin thought about it, cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Shortly after, Yulin finally arrived at the orphanage. What's the wind today? It actually blew you here, he. The kind old dean happened to be playing video games with a group of old men, humming and shouting non-stop. When he saw Yulin stepping into the door of the orphanage, he was shocked. He reluctantly put down the game controller and walked towards Yulin. Dean, where is Yiyi? Yulin asked directly without any nonsense. Huh? Are you here specifically to find Yiyi? The old dean muttered in a low voice. Didn't you say you can't get along with her? Where's Yiyi? Here, over there. The old dean was startled suddenly, and then realized that something was wrong with Yulin's expression, so he pointed in a certain direction in the yard. I saw Ling Yiyi as always, under the sun, wearing headphones, touching the uneven braille book with her fingers, as quiet as an elf under the sun, with a faint smile on her face. The moment Yulin saw Ling Yiyi, the tense nerves throughout his body finally relaxed. He couldn't help but secretly cursed himself for saying care is chaos, and smiled slightly. It's okay. Actually, I mainly want to find another friend of mine. Well, there is something very important, and I want to ask him face to face. Oh dash, the old dean blinked, his tone was strange, and after a long oh, he said slowly, so Xiaolin, you are here specifically to find your friend. Yulin's expression was calm. Huh? Otherwise. Haha, he's leaving. Leaving, Yulin frowned. Well, half a month ago, he suddenly said something happened, then left and never came back. But the young man looked worried all day long, so I don't know if something happened. Gone. Ling Wen left? Half a month ago? Yulin calculated silently. Half a month ago, it seemed that Ling Wen would have entered the other world again and returned to the real world alive. And then, left the orphanage? Why? If it was something else, Ling Wen would not set himself to Do Not Disturb status. Start a feud. Betray. Still. Yulin made a quick guess in her mind. But no matter what, as long as Ling Yiyi is fine. After Yulin returned from traveling in Gotham, he quickly went to Hating City because of Li Chang'e, so in a hurry, the old dean did not tell him about the matter, probably because he could not be contacted. After thinking for a moment, Yulin decided not to worry about Ling Wen anymore. After all, no matter how entangled he was, as long as Ling Wen was not around, he would not be able to come up with the answer. Return to the capital and ask Molly to help check the locations where Ling Wen has been recently. As long as Ling Wen is still in the modern city, he will definitely leave certain traces. Ordinary people may not be able to find it, but it shouldn't be difficult for Molly. No matter how bad it is, it shouldn't be a problem if you ask Orala. Oh, right. The old dean suddenly remembered something and said casually, that young man Ling Wen, before he left, he asked me to give an amulet to Yi, tisk tisk, and asked me to lie and say it was you who gave it to me. Tisk tisk, tisk tisk tisk, tisk tisk tisk. As the old dean spoke, he gave a thumbs up and silently praised Ling Wen as he left. Amulet. Lie. Yulin didn't care about the old dean's winking expression, but extracted two key pieces of information from the old dean's brief words. While thinking, Yulin slowly walked towards Ling Yi. The palms of my hands were slightly sweaty. Ling Yi closed her eyes, and the smile on her lips became thicker and thicker. When Yulin was 3 meters away from Ling Yi suddenly stopped what she was doing, then raised her head and opened her eyes. Yulin clearly knew that Ling Yi's eyes could not see any light, but every time she looked into Ling Yi's eyes, Yulin inexplicably had the illusion that she was seeing through her. Those eyes seemed to contain some indescribable agility. It was obviously a pair of eyes that had been deprived of their light. You're here again. Again? Why do you seem a little disgusted? No, it's just a little unexpected. Ling Yi smiled, and then continued, he's gone without waiting for Yulin to speak. He's your friend, Ling Yi blinked. So you already knew. This is my little secret. Ling Yi pointed to her ear. Actually, I have noticed that my hearing is getting better and better not long ago. The last time you walked into the orphanage, I only listened to your footsteps. I could tell it was your voice, and then I heard you fooling the old dean, haha. Ling Yi smiled happily. Even when he mentioned that he couldn't see, he didn't feel depressed or disappointed at all. As if this is a very fun thing. Ling Yi, you are really a clever little ghost. So, what else do you know? Well, actually there aren't many. For example, I guess you are not going to college now. And, you seem to be doing something weird. Ling Yi smiled slightly, but it's okay. I can feel a very firm smell coming from Xiaolin, so it shouldn't be a bad thing. A firm taste? What kind of weird description is this? Suddenly, Yulin was shocked. It shouldn't be. Absolutely not. Yulin turned around sharply. The yard is large and spacious. Moreover, the center of the yard was filled with the laughter of old men who couldn't help but laugh while playing video games. The place where Ling Yi was sitting was nearly 100 meters away from the entrance of the orphanage. He was actually able to identify Yulin based on the sound of his footsteps when he stepped into the door. If Yulin didn't come from a completely different timeline, she might just wonder whether God accidentally made a few more holes in Ling Yi's ears when he took away Ling Yi's light. But Yulin knew very well that Ling Yi would indeed have very good hearing in the future. But not now. Why? Why does this happen? Amulet. Yulin suddenly took a step forward, her tone a little more nervous, but she tried to suppress her emotions and said calmly, do you have an amulet? Show me. Humph, you lied to me and said it was from you, huh? You couldn't possibly. Ling Yi muttered to herself in a very small voice, but without saying anything more, she directly took off the amulet from her neck. Yulin took the amulet from Ling Yi's hand. At the moment of contact, the attributes have appeared before my eyes. Really? It's a prop from another world. An ordinary amulet. Grade none. Effect. Click to view details. The moment I saw the properties of the amulet, Yulin was surprised. It turned out to be an ordinary series. Moreover, it is not a consumable prop, but a piece of equipment. Ling Wen actually gave, to Ling Yi? So why did Ling Wen leave quietly? Countless questions hovered in Yilin's mind. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this amulet? Ling Yi's gentle voice broke Yilin's thoughts and brought Yilin back to reality. There's nothing wrong with it? Well, the amulet is pretty good. Yilin leaned down to help Ling Yi put on the amulet again, and warned, this amulet is probably invulnerable to water and fire. Remember, don't take it off at any time, and, remember, don't let other people know about this amulet again. The presence. No matter how unremarkable it is still produced in the other world after all. Yilin does not believe that the amulet will be useless if it is soaked in a little water. Ling Yi lowered her head and thought for a moment. Although I don't know why Yilin said this. But unimportant. Ling Yi didn't ask any more questions, just chuckled, okay. Yilin finally decided to take Ling Yi away. Over the years, Yilin has been deliberately staying away from Ling Yi in order to try not to change Ling Yi's original trajectory. Unexpectedly, the world has gradually deviated from the path he knew, including the people around him. In retrospect, he might have been too persistent about certain things. Regarding Yilin's intention to take Ling Yi away, the old dean didn't ask much and just smiled. After all, Ling Yi is also an adult and has the freedom to stay or go. Take care of yourself before leaving, the old dean patted Yilin's shoulder in a deep voice with emotion on his face.